Chapter 307. The two of them were evenly matched. The instant their fists and palms collided, they both took 5 steps back. Both of them felt their right arms go numb. The qi and blood in their bodies churned violently, and their internal organs trembled. Enough, whoever takes the initiative to attack can leave immediately. I, Duamyiking, will only say it once. If you don't believe me, feel free to give it a try. Duamyiking had an incomparably gloomy expression on her cold face. Her icy tone made it impossible for anyone to doubt her determination. Ji Chongkong looked at the calm Xiaochen, and knew that he could not take him down in a short period of time. He could only give up. The stars in the sky immediately disappeared, and everything returned to normal. However, I have not tested out his true strength. It looks like there is another competitor in this fortuitous encounter, Ji Chongkong thought to himself with some regret. In the ancient remnant in the savage forest, Ji Chongkong had obtained the benefits of a fortuitous encounter. Hence, his desire for competition for fortuitous encounters was much stronger than others. Seeing Ji Chongkong withdraw, Xiaochen did not have any intentions of continuing. He knew that Ji Chongkong only wanted to test his strength. It was far from a life-and-death situation. Duamyiking turned around and said to Xiaochen, I have not asked for your name. Also, please show me the mission contract and your Heavenly Saber Pavilion identity token. Xiaochen handed over the mission contract and identity token. Qingyun Peak, Yichun. Qingyun Peak? When Duamyiking heard these 3 words, her heart skipped a beat. She had some understanding of the Heavenly Saber Pavilion's situation. The reason Morong Chong left the Heavenly Saber Pavilion was because he lost to a Qingyun Peak disciple. From the looks of it, it was very likely to be this person. After checking the identity token and mission contract, Duamyiking said softly, Please take a seat. I will count you in for this mission. After Xiaochen sat down, Duamyiking said softly, I don't need to say anything about the Firely sect. Everyone should be clear on this. During the Tianwu dynasty, all the secret treasures of the continent came from this sect. They are also the only sect that grasped the ability to refine secret treasures after the ancient era. This time, our Duanmu clan's main objective is not the Firely sect, but the profound ice flower in front of the Firely sect. As long as everyone can let me obtain the profound ice flower, I can help everyone open the entrance to the Firely sect branch hall ruins. Hua Yunfei said indifferently, The profound ice flower is not an ordinary spirit herb. Why should we give it to you? Also, how can you prove that there are remnants of a Firely sect branch beside the profound ice flower? If you leave immediately after obtaining the profound ice flower, wouldn't we all be fooled by you? You have to give us a reason that can convince us all. The profound ice flower was a very mysterious flower. Originally, the Martial Sky continent did not have such a flower. It was rumored that during the ancient era, after the Ice Empress, an emperor-level expert, died, her blood was scattered all over the place, then it grew into this flower. The entire flower was made up of the purest ice-attributed spiritual energy. It was crystal clear, pure and flawless. This flower could not immediately increase a cultivator's cultivation. However, if an ice-attributed cultivator consumed this flower, their physique would become the legendary spiritual body. They would be able to comprehend the state of ice to the limit. Furthermore, they would be able to cultivate ice-attributed martial techniques several times faster than regular cultivators. It was rumored that the Duanmu clan was the descendant of the Ice Empress. The profound ice incantation that they passed down was derived from the Ice Empress cultivation technique. Hence, this profound ice flower was even more important to the Duanmu clan than regular cultivators. If she obtained it, she would be able to increase the strength of the Duanmu clan rapidly. This was undoubtedly bad news for the other noble clans. Hua Yunfei's words also represented the intentions of the others. Duamyiking had to give them a reason to give up on the profound ice flower. Furthermore, he had to take out concrete evidence to prove the existence of the Firely sect branch hall. Duamyiking clearly expected the crowd to have such doubts. He said calmly, The location of the profound ice flower is in a demonic beast forest. There is a seal on the land of the 3 holy masters there. Demonic beasts and cultivators above Martial King are not allowed to enter. This time, I will only bring 4 people with me. If there were no firely sect remnants, you would be able to kill me easily with your strength. After I obtain the profound ice flower, I will not want any of the treasures in the firely sect. As for the evidence you want, I cannot take it out. However, I can only use my life as a guarantee. If you believe me, you can go. If you don't, you can leave now. After the crowd heard Duamyuking's words, they all started to make their own plans. Although Duamyuking did not take out any evidence, no one expressed any intention of leaving even after a long time. There was nothing they could do about it. The temptation of a fortuitous encounter was too great. If they left, other geniuses like them would obtain the treasures in the fortuitous encounter. Who knows, they might be left behind forever, and it would be too late to regret it. Furthermore, everyone believed that Duamyuking did not have the guts to lie to them. Every single person in the front yard had a power comparable to the Duanmu clan. If they incurred the wrath of the crowd, it would only be a matter of 1 or 2 days before the Duanmu clan was destroyed. Chu Chaoyan, who had been silent all this while, suddenly opened his eyes and asked, "Demonic Beast Forest? Which demonic beast forest?" Duamyuking replied softly, "The one below Ink Mountain, the Ink Forest." "What's going on?" "Ink Forest." When everyone present heard the words Ink Forest, they immediately took a deep breath of cold air. Their expressions changed greatly, and many of them started to hesitate. The Ink Forest was a demonic beast forest 5,000 meters below the ground. It was located at the bottom of the Ink Mountain Range. The entire Ink Mountain Range was a demonic beast mountain range. It was a famous dangerous place within the Great Qin Nation. The spirit veins of the entire mountain range were all contaminated by demonic qi. Within a radius of 500 kilometers, the trees, flowers, and plants could be fatal if they were not careful. Without a martial king cultivation, entering the core of the mountain range was no different from committing suicide. In comparison, the Ink Forest could be considered a forbidden land. The spirit veins origin of the entire Ink Mountain range that had been demonized was beneath the Ink Forest. The entire spirit veins origin had been contaminated. This was extremely rare in the Tianwu continent. Back then, even the 3 holy masters were unable to completely seal it. They could only leave a barrier to control the demonic beasts within. Those above Martial King would not be able to come out. Otherwise, if the horrifying demonic beasts inside came out, it would be an unbearable disaster for the surrounding cities. Duamyuking said softly, "Everyone, there is no need to worry after entering the Ink Mountain Range. The Duanmu clan's profound ice palace will escort everyone safely to the entrance of the Ink Forest. Furthermore, the profound ice flower and the firely sect's remnant are not in the core of the forest." Even so, the doubts on everyone's faces did not disappear. They quickly calculated the risks and benefits in their hearts. Fortuitous encounters were often accompanied by danger. Walking the line between life and death, there had never been a free fortuitous encounter. Even if there was a free fortuitous encounter, the gains would not be great. Before the crowd came, they had already made their mental preparations. However, when they heard that they were going to the Ink Forest, they were caught off guard and hesitated. A fortuitous encounter was good. However, if they did not have their lives to obtain it, it would be all for naught. Chu Chaoyan thought for a while and said, "If it is only the periphery, we can give it a try. I, Hua Yunfei, can give it a try as well. However, it is just the Ink Forest. I want to see what kind of dragon's pool or tiger's den it is. Why would I, Ji Changkong, not dare?" Mu Yanxue is willing to give it a try as well. After Chu Chaoyan spoke, the others all agreed. In the end, no one backed out. They all sat down and made their decision. Thinking about it, it was understandable. Everyone here was a dragon among men. No one would admit that they were weaker than the others. Even if they could see the risks and felt that someone was going to die, they would feel that the one dying would not be them. Xiaochen looked at the high-spirited crowd and shook his head. This group of people probably had very little experience adventuring in the demonic beast forest. Most of them probably would not make it back alive. Seeing that everyone agreed, Duamyuking said, "Everyone, please rest for the night. We will depart tomorrow. Do not cause trouble in the residence. If you anger the elders, even I will not be able to protect you." Late at night, the moon hung high in the sky. Its golden light illuminated the ground. Xiao Chen was meditating in the guest room when he suddenly heard slow footsteps. He opened his eyes and sent out his spiritual sense. He discovered Yun Kursen standing outside the door. He quickly got up and welcomed her in. There was a graceful smile on Yun Kursen's delicate face. She said, "Congratulations, senior brother Yi. You defeated Morongchong. Now everyone in the entire Shiha province knows about you." Within the sect, strength was everything. Now that Xiao Chen defeated Morongchong, it could be said that anyone in the Heavenly Saber Pavilion who met Xiao Chen would have to address him as senior brother Yi. It did not matter how long one had been in the sect. However, Yun Kursen's words were clearly teasing him. It was half a joke. Xiao Chen smiled and said softly, "There is no need to be so formal. Senior sister Yun, just call me Xiao Chen. Have a seat. Why are you looking for me?" Yun Kursen slowly sat down and took out a secret manual. She smiled and said, "You can also call me Kursen. I am here to give you a secret manual. I have already comprehended the inferior grade heaven-ranked cultivation technique, the roaming dragon incantation. Take a look." Xiao Chen felt excited. He received the secret manual and looked at it. The handwriting on the secret manual was very delicate. It should be Yun Kursen's handwriting. After taking 2 glances, Xiao Chen was completely engrossed in it. After a long time, he closed the secret manual and said, "Thank you very much. You are the only one who can share a heaven-ranked cultivation technique with me." Yun Kursen smiled casually and said, "Let me give you a reminder. Don't cultivate this cultivation technique for now. I can cultivate it immediately because of my martial spirit. Your martial spirit should be lightning attributed. The roaming dragon incantation is wind attributed. With the tyrannical nature of a heaven-ranked cultivation technique, it will immediately destroy the lightning attributed essence in your body. Your cultivation will fall to a very low level for a short period of time. Furthermore, in the future, it will be very difficult for your essence to merge with other attributes." That was indeed the case. The tyrannical nature of a heaven-ranked cultivation technique was something Xiao Chen had experienced before. After the purple thunder divine incantation reached the 4th layer, it could not contain any other attributed essence. Currently, his body was filled with lightning attributed essence. Furthermore, it was incredibly pure. Chapter 308. Xiao Chen had a clear understanding of his own strength. He was not blindly confident just because he obtained a heaven-ranked cultivation technique. Before they left, Duan Muking warned softly, "Everyone is free to look around the 1st and 2nd floors. However, do not enter the 3rd floor. I hope everyone will not break the rules." Xiao Chen looked around and discovered that there was not a single person in the huge hall. "That's not right, there is only one person." Xiao Chen focused his gaze. Duan Muking led the crowd to the 2nd floor. There were many cubicles on the 2nd floor. Basically, there were more than 100 people in each cubicle. It was said that there were only 10 flying secret treasures with complete battle patterns within the Great Qin nation. The remaining 9 were in the hands of the royal court. "Huqi," Xiao Chen said sullenly, "if I want to preserve my lightning attributed essence, is there any way to do so?" A deep light appeared in Xiao Chen's eyes. He had a grave expression as he said, "I should not be in too much danger at the periphery of the ink forest. However, I should not let my guard down. The true danger might not be the demonic beasts in the forest, but the people around you. There is also the father who chased me out of Mo City. How is he doing now? Feng Feishua promised to take care of him. The noble clans should not make things difficult for him." Everyone entered in a single file. They were all curious about this profound ice palace that had been famous for a long time. They looked around the ice palace. Xiao Chen closed his eyes and entered deep thought. After a long time, Xiao Chen suddenly opened his eyes. There was a resolute look in his eyes as he said, "It is better to bury the past in my heart. I cannot live in my memories. Since I have already embarked on the path of cultivation, I should not look back." Why? This was a problem that had troubled Xiao Chen for a long time. Even now he had not completely resolved it. Because of this, he had almost given up on cultivating the Lingyun saber technique to great perfection. The moment Xiao Chen said this, some people felt disappointed. However, in this profound ice palace, no one had the guts to break the rules of the other party. Xiaochen looked at the clouds from the cubicle window. He felt like he was on a plane in his previous life. Suddenly, some forgotten memories came back to him. Xiaochen was incomparably shocked. He narrowed his eyes and looked at the flame with a grave expression. Yin Kursen explained, "It is too dangerous. Before I came, I did not expect to be in the ink forest. Moreover, the competition is too great. I have just obtained a heaven-tier cultivation technique, so my accumulation is still lacking compared to these people." Just as Xiaochen was feeling puzzled, a leisurely voice drifted over. It was Chu Chaoyan inviting him to sit with him with a smile. The mystic ice palace landed steadily on the vast training field. Duan Muking opened the doors of the ice palace and invited everyone in. Suddenly, a huge shadow fell on top of everyone's heads. When they looked up, they discovered that it was a huge ice bird that was 300 meters long and could reach a wingspan of 400 meters when it spread its wings. "Look, the Duanmu family's profound ice palace is flying over." However, in the hands of the Ice Empress, they were unable to resist at all. The peerless experts of the ancient era really make one yearn for them and fantasize about them. Is this the heavenly flame? As for the strongest Xiaochen, he could not see through his cultivation. This showed how much importance the Duanmu family placed on this profound ice palace. It looks like the Duanmu family put in a lot of effort for this mission. They really used the profound ice palace. I heard that flying and fighting in the profound ice palace cost 200 medial-grade spirit stones a day. The two of them chatted for a while. Finally, Yin Kursen stood up and said, "I will take my leave first. I intend to give up on tomorrow's mission. Take care of yourself." The profound ice palace looked incomparably cold. However, when one entered, it did not make one feel too cold. Instead, it felt cool and comfortable. Recollecting his thoughts, a murderous intent flashed in Xiaochen's eyes. It looked like this person had seen through his disguise. Chu Chaoyan put down his wine cup and clasped two fingers together. Suddenly, a strand of dazzling golden flame condensed on his fingertip. The light of the flame illuminated the entire hall of the profound ice palace. However, regarding dual cultivation, Xiaochen still had some doubts. He asked, "In that case, why do I see cultivators with two attributes? Not only do they dual cultivate, but their cultivations are also not low." Xiaochen did not even send out his spiritual sense, but he could feel 10 strong auras. The weakest was a medial-grade martial king. When Xiaochen heard this, he was somewhat surprised. He believed in Yin Kursen's strength. It would not be a problem for her to rank within the top 10. Why did she think of giving up? So, the profound ice palace left the ground and quickly flew towards the horizon. In the blink of an eye, it entered the clouds and soared in all directions. "Brother Yichun, it's been a long time. Do you want to come over and have a seat?" Xiaochen's spiritual sense was like a sharp arrow, silently cutting off this melancholy. It turned the memories into a fallen leaf and buried them in a corner of his mind. Yin Kursen smiled gently and said, "You are talking about Morong Chong, right? As far as I know, he cultivates the wind cloud incantation. This is a peak earth-ranked cultivation technique that fuses two attributes naturally. Such a cultivation technique is extremely rare. It is even more valuable than a heaven-ranked cultivation technique." Chu Chaoyan drained the wine cup in his hand in one gulp. He smiled and said, "In my opinion, you are the one who is unfathomable. However, I am really curious about your cultivation. How did it increase so quickly in just 1 year?" Xiaochen said as he sat on the ice bed. Yin Kursen was able to calmly make a choice. He believed that many cultivators would be able to do this. Xiaochen suddenly understood. So that is how it is. No wonder Morong Chang's state of wind and cloud could be merged so perfectly. I heard that this profound ice palace was left behind by an ancient expert, the Ice Empress. She used a secret technique to carve the 10,000-year-old ice soul from the extremely cold lands of the north. As the sun rose, its rays illuminated the land. Xiaochen came out of his cultivation and washed up. Then someone immediately led him to a dueling ground in the residence. The outstanding talents of various places gathered at the dueling ground. Xiaochen took a look. Aside from Yin Kursen, Almost no one left. Chu Chaoyun looked at Xiao Chun, who was sitting down. He said, "Brother Yi Chun, relax. I am not here to ask you for that golden grade spirit core. Why are you so nervous?" Xiao Chun would not be able to reach the Ink Mountain range before nightfall. Due to the earlier melancholy, Xiao Chun had been interrupted. For now, Xiao Chun was no longer in the mood to continue cultivating. He prepared to get up and take a look around the first floor. Placing the lunar shadow saber on the ice table, Xiao Chun picked up a grape from the table and ate one. He said indifferently, "You are still the same as before. You are always unfathomable." Unexpectedly, the golden flame contained a trace of a sovereign overlooking the world, a will of supremacy. It inspired reverence in one's heart. Before this tiny flame, Xiao Chun actually felt insignificant. A look of reminiscence appeared in Xiao Chun's eyes. He hugged the lunar shadow saber and leaned against the wall. He muttered, "In the blink of an eye, it has already been 2 years since I came to this world. I wonder how my relatives are doing." Chu Chaoyun's words hit a trace of desolation. With his incredibly sharp spiritual sense, Xiao Chun immediately caught it. However, he could not figure out what it meant. There were some exquisite murals carved on the surrounding walls. There were also several windows that allowed one to see the situation outside. The Purple Thunder Divine Incantation should not be any weaker than the Roaming Dragon Incantation. It looks like I can still try cultivating the Roaming Dragon Incantation. When Xiao Chun arrived at the cubicle that belonged to him, he sized it up. If he excluded the ice sculptures, this cubicle was no different from the cubicle on the ground floor. As Xiao Chun watched Chu Chaoyun leave, he entered deep thought. Chu Chaoyun's humility was something that all cultivators should learn. Since ancient times, how many geniuses had died due to blind confidence? As for geniuses who died young, they were no longer geniuses. They were just stepping stones for others. The ice bird under the profound ice palace gave off a sharp cry. The surrounding air became like a whirlwind, kicking up sand and rocks in the dueling grounds. Xiao Chun retorted, "Compared to you, who possesses the heavenly flame, it is not even worth mentioning." Yin Kursen thought for a while and said, "It is not like there is none. If you can find a heaven-ranked lightning-attributed cultivation technique that is not inferior to the Roaming Dragon Incantation, or a peak earth-ranked lightning-attributed cultivation technique, it should be possible. However, after that, you will have to rest twice. The growth of your cultivation will be slower than that of regular cultivators." The taste of the grapes was very refreshing. It looked like this ice palace had the effect of keeping them fresh and chilling. Chu Chaoyun's attire was the same as before, wearing alternating blue and white robes. He carried a sword on his back that looked like it would never be drawn. He always had a carefree expression on his face. His state had collapsed, and his saber technique had disappeared. Before he attacked, he would be full of openings. In a life-and-death battle, how could he dare to use it? If he cultivated a dual-attributed cultivation technique, everything would fall into place. However, he did not know how Yin Kursen knew this secret. After entering the first floor of the ice palace, Xiao Chun saw a very wide hall. There were tables, chairs, benches, and all sorts of other furniture in the hall. Of course, these furniture were all made of ice. Xiao Chun withdrew his aura and could not help but tighten his grip on the scabbard in his left hand. Then, he slowly walked over to the round table where Chu Chaoyun was. This was because Xiao Chun's comprehension of the saber technique's state of mountains had stopped growing. Furthermore, it showed signs of regressing. The state of mountains and clouds had completely collapsed. Wang, Xiao Chun saw Chu Chaoyun sitting on an exquisite round table made of ice. He was currently holding a cup of wine and drinking by himself. Xiao Chun was surprised. What's going on? My vision clearly swept across the entire hall. Why did I only notice this person after taking a second glance? The 10,000-year-old ice soul already possessed a very high level of spiritual intelligence and cultivation. It was no longer an ordinary piece of ice. Its combat prowess rivaled that of a martial sage. Chu Chaoyun filled his wine cup again and smiled faintly. Heavenly flame? The heavenly flame that can burn the entire continent? Who knows, it might just be a joke. If it were that powerful, how could the Tianwu dynasty be destroyed? Xiao Chun was not too surprised. This was not the first time his spiritual sense was blocked. He withdrew his spiritual sense and went to the hall on the first floor with a calm expression. Xiaochen pushed open the ice door of the cubicle and walked down the corridor, heading for the staircase. Xiaochen habitually extended his spiritual sense out. However, he discovered that it was blocked by a formless barrier. It could only remain within 10 meters of him. There was a 9-story ice palace on the back of the ice bird. This was the famous profound ice palace of the Duanmu clan. Chapter 309. Fortunately, there was only a trace of this supreme will. If there were several times more, Xiaochen would not even have the courage to fight. He would just end up prostrating on the ground. Looking at the swaying heavenly flame, Xiaochen could not help but think of the dragon flame that he saw on Yingyu's body. Although the might of this strand of heavenly flame could not compare to that dragon flame, its aura was much stronger. Suddenly, Xiaochen thought, if wills can be infused into the heavenly flame, then can I infuse my state into the purple thunder true fire as well? A fierce purple flame started burning in Xiaochen's right eye. When he looked around, it looked like a boundless sea of fire. The flames quickly gathered and formed a strand of purple flame. The purple thunder true fire's origin flame flew out of Xiaochen's right eye and swayed on his fingertip. With a thought, the peak small perfection state of thunder instantly poured into the origin flame. Z. Countless purple electric currents appeared behind Xiaochen. The purple light immediately chased away the golden light from Chu Chaoyun's heavenly flame. Success! Xiaochen rejoiced in his heart as he thought excitedly, indeed, I can infuse my state into the purple thunder true fire. Now I can finally fight against my heavenly flame. Before this, when facing the resplendent golden heavenly flame, Xiaochen did not even have the courage to unleash the purple thunder true fire. Instantly, one side of the hall was filled with a resplendent golden light, and the other side was filled with a strange purple light. The two lights clashed in an invisible manner. All the items on the ice table floated up when the two auras clashed. Chu Chaoyun smiled faintly and said, "You learn very fast. Let me try and see how strong it is." Right after Chu Chaoyun spoke, he thrust his fingers forward. All the golden light in the hall returned to the heavenly flame with a schwa sound. In an instant, that tiny strand of heavenly flame became extremely dazzling, like a miniature golden sun. That sovereign overlooking the world, the aura of supremacy, rose to its peak at the same time. A strong wind blew on Chu Chaoyun's body. His clothes fluttered and his hair fluttered. It was like the Tianwu Emperor had possessed him, looking dignified and dignified. Xiaochen's expression changed. He quickly gathered the scattered purple qi behind him into his origin flame. He brought out the state of thunder to its limits. A bolt of boundlessly resplendent electric light appeared in the strange purple flame. He pushed his right hand forward as well, and met the attack without any hesitation. Bang! The two flames quickly collided, and a loud bang rang out in the hall. A violent shockwave spread out, and the items floating in the hall were immediately crushed into a pile of powder. The terrifying power reverberated in the hall, causing the entire profound ice palace to tremble uncontrollably. This startled everyone in the profound ice palace. Xiaochen's complexion was somewhat pale. A huge force swept over, and his body flew back 10 meters before landing heavily on the ground. On the other hand, Chu Chaoyun only took 3 steps back. Against an incomplete strand of heavenly flame, Xiaochen's full-powered purple thunder true fire lost in a contest of strength. A golden light flashed in Chu Chaoyun's eyes. The scattered heavenly flame immediately vanished. Seeing the grave expression on Xiaochen's face, Chu Chaoyun said indifferently, "Don't treat me as your enemy. Sooner or later, you will understand that our mission is actually the same." Chi. The profound ice palace stopped shaking. Suddenly, streams of ice water appeared on the ice surface of the hall. The ice water slowly turned into 4 human-shaped blocks of ice. Then they turned into 4 delicate and pretty girls. The two of you, if you test your moves in the profound ice palace for no reason again, no matter what your identity is, you will be thrown out of the profound ice palace. One of the girls said in a cold voice with an expressionless face. Seeing the other cultivators rushing down the stairs, Chu Chaoyun bowed slightly and smiled. "My apologies, there will not be a next time." The test between Xiao Chun and Chu Chaoyan was just a small interlude in the Profound Ice Palace's flight. The huge Profound Ice Palace continued to fly at Mach 2, heading for the Ink Forest. In a booth on the second floor, Xiao Chun continued to try merging his state with the Purple Thunder True Fire. The might of the legendary Heavenly Flame was indeed horrifying. The first time he merged his state, he could barely match the Heavenly Flame. Xiao Chun was already very satisfied. Even though that strand of Heavenly Flame was not even a tenth of the true Heavenly Flame. However, Xiao Chun's Purple Thunder True Fire had not reached its full potential. The Purple Thunder Divine Incantation had a total of 12 layers. Currently, he had only cultivated it to the 4th layer. If he broke through another layer in the future, he might have a chance to compete with the Heavenly Flame. When the sky turned dark, Xiao Chun noticed that the clouds outside the window had suddenly turned pitch black. This caused his mood to worsen. Xiao Chun stopped what he was doing and looked down from the window. He saw a huge mountain range that rose and fell endlessly. The entire mountain range was covered in a black fog, lingering around the peaks. When the cool breeze blew, the black fog seemed solid, not moving at all. "Is this the Ink Mountain Range?" Xiao Chun said with a grave expression. Rumble. Just at this moment, the entire Profound Ice Palace started shaking. Although the tremors were not large, they continued for a long time without any signs of stopping. "We have encountered a large number of rank 7 flying demonic beasts in front. The Profound Ice Palace will activate the combat formation. Everyone, please remain in your booth and do not move around. We will deal with it." A clear voice rang out in the ears of everyone on the second floor, explaining the reason for the tremors. "They are actually rank 7 flying demonic beasts," Xiao Chun muttered to himself. "A rank 7 demonic beast is as strong as a high-ranked martial king. I wonder how the Duanmu clan is going to deal with it. However, since the Profound Ice Palace has activated the combat formation, I can go and understand it. Who knows, it might be helpful for the Silver Warship to recover its combat formation." Xiao Chun had an idea. He looked at the window in the booth that was just big enough to fit his body. He did not hesitate and pushed his feet off the ground. His body quickly passed through it. Xiao Chun flew forward. There was a rather large empty space between the head of the ice bird and the ice palace. Xiao Chun decided to go there and observe the Profound Ice Palace's combat formation in detail. Xiao Chun's body turned into a purple arc in the air. When he landed, there was a so-so-so sound. Ji Chongkong, Hua Yunfei, and the others arrived one after another. The few of them exchanged glances with each other. Their gazes were somewhat unnatural. They did not expect others to follow them. Ji Chongkong smiled faintly. "It looks like everyone is thinking the same thing. We all want to see what exactly is going on with the combat formation. In that case, let's go together." The powers behind the few of them all had 1 or 2 flying secret treasures. However, the combat formation was already damaged and could not be used. This would be an excellent opportunity to observe. A circular white barrier enveloped the Profound Ice Palace in the air. Many flying demonic beasts rammed into the white barrier, bringing with them a sky full of black chi. Under the attacks of the demonic beasts, the Profound Ice Palace trembled continuously. The light of the white chi barrier also started to weaken. Hua Yunfei, who was in the crowd, said sullenly, "Rank 7 demonic beasts are indeed horrifying. If we do not replenish this defensive formation with superior grade spirit stones, it will not last for long." Superior grade spirit stones? How could it be that easy to obtain them? They will probably activate the combat formation soon. Another heir of the royal court said excitedly. Boom. Right after he spoke, a resplendent ball of light suddenly condensed in the ice bird's beak. In the next instant, the ball of light expanded infinitely. It turned into a pillar of light and pierced through the chi barrier. It swept away all the rank 7 demonic beasts blocking the way, turning them into ice shards. Xiao Chun looked up and saw the mysterious expert on the top floor of the Profound Ice Palace continuously making hand seals. As his hand seals changed, the ice bird quickly changed its position and shot out pillars of light. Everywhere the pillars of light passed, none of the demonic beasts could block them. They all turned into pillars of ice before shattering into countless ice shards. Huchi! Huchi! Rings of light appeared around the third floor of the profound ice palace. These rings of light were made up of dense, mysterious characters that glowed. The countless characters moved rhythmically in the air, as though they were forming something. Finally, the mysterious person on the top floor shouted, "Break!" All the characters quickly gathered together. After a while they formed small, lifelike ice birds. The ice birds cried out and immediately shot out. Countless ice birds crashed into the surrounding rank 7 demonic beasts. However, there was no reaction. These demonic beasts were immediately covered in frost. In the next instant, they turned into huge ice sculptures in the air. Bang! The person on the top floor of the profound ice palace controlled the huge birds to crash into the demonic beasts. The ice sculptures in front of them immediately shattered. When all the demonic beasts were dead, Xiao Chun and the others sucked in a breath of cold air. They had not expected the might of the profound ice palace to be so great. They managed to kill hundreds of rank 7 demonic beasts in an instant. Xiao Chun muttered to himself, "Those mysterious characters should be the secret to carving combat formations." However, without systematic study, it is impossible to grasp such characters. After the demonic beasts were killed, everyone's field of vision immediately widened. Horrifying cries came from the front. When everyone looked over, they saw a large group of even more rank 7 demonic beasts. One of the people's expressions changed greatly. He said in horror, "The Ink Mountain Range has always feared flying through the sky. There was once an inferior grade martial monarch who tried to fly through the Ink Mountain Range. However, in the end he had no choice but to retreat before the endless flying demonic beasts. Furthermore, he was severely injured. Although this profound ice palace is powerful, if the spirit stones cannot keep up with the expenditure, it will be dangerous." Right at this moment, everyone suddenly felt the temperature of the surrounding air drop by a lot. Furthermore, it continued to drop. Finally, that cold penetrated deep into their hearts. Everyone had no choice but to circulate their essence to resist it. What's going on? Everyone was shocked. Boundless cold air appeared around the ice palace, and the golden runes became hazy in the cold air. Then the mysterious person on the top floor let out a soft shout. Then, the mysterious person on the top floor shouted. All the cold chi gathered together and formed a huge ice image. When one looked carefully, this image was the figure of a woman. Chapter 310. The Ice Empress was more than 200 meters tall. The image encased the ice palace and a supreme aura pressed down. Everyone felt their shoulders sink, like a mountain was pressing down on them. This is the ancient expert Bing Ho. Just her aura alone is enough to make it hard for us to move. Everyone paled as they resisted the overwhelming aura with great difficulty. They had to clench their teeth to even speak. Wuxia. Suddenly, an ice sword appeared in the Bing Ho's hand. A sword light swept out and a tear appeared in the space in front. The space shattered, and the destructive energy it brought tore apart the countless demonic beasts in the vicinity. With the Bing Ho's help, the profound ice palace was unstoppable in the sky above the Ink Mountain Range. None of the demonic beasts could stop them. After the huge image of the Bing Ho appeared, the profound ice palace immediately became unrivaled. The supreme aura of a sage suppressed the rank 7 demonic beasts. They did not dare to get close. The 10-odd people in front of the ice palace struggled bitterly under this horrifying pressure. Actually, one could see the strength of each individual here. A few of them were already prostrating on the ground. They did not even have the strength to stand up. There were also some who knelt on one knee, sweat dripping down their faces. Only Ji Changkong, Hua Yunfei, Xiao Chun, and one of the heirs from the royal courts remained standing. However, the expressions of the 4 of them were not relaxed either. If this dragged on, they would not be able to hold on for long. They would end up like the others, unable to stand up again after falling down. Xiao Chun quickly circulated the purple thunder divine incantation. He condensed his aura into a single line, resisting the formless aura. However, the pressure on his shoulders did not decrease at all. The aura was as heavy as a mountain. His feet felt like they were filled with lead. He could not move them at all. Just as the 4 of them could no longer hold on, a rectangular hole suddenly appeared in the ice palace. Duan Muking looked at everyone expressionlessly and said indifferently, Quickly come in. When the doors of the ice palace opened, the pressure on everyone immediately lessened. Xiao Chun and the other three did not hesitate and quickly leaped in. A few of the heirs who were kneeling on one knee quickly pushed off the back of the ice bird and followed them in. The remaining 4 princes who were prostrating on the ground heaved a sigh of relief. Just as they struggled to get up, they realized that the doors of the ice palace had closed with a swoosh. The terrifying aura of the Ice Empress once again pressed down heavily like a towering mountain. Blood spurted out from their mouths as they fell to the ground, unable to get up no matter how hard they tried. The few people who entered the ice palace looked at each other with lingering fear. Even now, their hearts were still thumping nonstop. The experience just now was too unforgettable. There was a hint of anger on Duanmuking's icy face as he said in a deep voice, "I hope you will abide by the rules of our Duanmu clan and not walk around." This was not the first time Duanmuking had said this. However, because of their status and strength, they had not taken it seriously. They had thought that the Duanmu clan would not dare to do anything to them. However, now that they saw what happened to the 4 people outside, they no longer dared to underestimate these words. After Duanmu-kun left, Ji Changkong said indifferently, "The ancient era's martial emperor is just an image. Just its aura alone makes one unable to resist it. I wonder how strong it is." Hua Yunfei had a sinister smile on his face as he said, "I have a feeling that in this fiery sect remnant, all of us will end up helping this woman." Ji Changkong smiled in disdain. "What's wrong? Even the young master Hua, who comprehended the ancient blood soul, is afraid of a woman?" Hua Yunfei smiled calmly. "Who is afraid of a woman? Everyone here is very clear on that. I heard that young Master Ji has not dared to go to the imperial capital for many years already." These 2 people had always been at odds with each other. Now that they relaxed, they immediately started teasing each other. The people from the royal courts all laughed softly. Naturally, they knew that Hua Yunfei was talking about Princess Ingyu defeating Ji Changkong in one move back then. Countless stars flashed in Ji Changkong's eyes. A murderous intent instantly surged out. However, it disappeared in a flash and his gaze quickly calmed down. Ji Changkong sighed in his heart. It looks like in the past year, Hua Yunfei's mental state is much better than before. On the contrary, my mental state is somewhat imperfect. Thinking of this, Ji Changkong did not say anything else. He took the lead and went up to the 2nd floor. The others also left one after another. The rest of the journey was very peaceful. Nothing else happened. The profound ice palace slowly descended to the core of the Ink Mountain range. Bang! The huge ice bird landed on the ground and created an intense whirlwind. It scattered in all directions, causing the surrounding trees to sway continuously. However, the image of the ice palace did not scatter. Under the pressure of the aura, the surrounding demonic beasts all fled in different directions. Even though they were demonic beasts, this kind of supreme aura caused them to feel fear from the bottom of their hearts. After a long time, when all the surrounding demonic beasts had left, the image of the Ice Empress slowly faded away. The doors of the ice palace opened with a so sound. Under Duanmuking's lead, everyone slowly descended from the profound ice palace. As for the 4 people lying on the back of the ice bird, they were completely dispirited. They could only give up on this mission. 500 meters in front of the group, there was a towering mountain wall. Below the mountain wall was a huge black hole. It was like the mouth of a demon. With one glance, it would cause one's heart to tremble. This hole was the entrance to the ink forest. It was pitch black and there was no sound or movement. It was very quiet. Xiao Chen slowly paced on the black ground. He was not in a rush to observe the hole. Instead, he circulated his essence and discovered that the surrounding spiritual energy was very thin. It was only 1/100th of the usual. Most of the spiritual energy in the air was demonic chi from the deep abyss demonic world. If one breathed in too much, it would cause one's body to demonize. It looks like I can only use spirit stones to recover my essence, Xiao Chen thought to himself. Fortunately, I still have a lot of medial grade spirit stones. There is no need to worry about this. I just have to be careful not to absorb the spiritual energy here. Duanmuking led the 4 peak martial saints of the Duanmu clan forward. As she said, she only brought 4 people. The other experts remained in the profound ice palace. The others were not willing to fall behind, so they quickly followed. Xiaochen was slightly slower. He was at the back of the group. The moment Xiaochen entered the hole, he immediately felt a cold current. The cold qi entered his body and attacked his internal organs. Xiaochen was astonished. He quickly circulated his essence and protected his internal organs. At the same time, he split off some essence to quickly eliminate the cold qi that entered his body. They had to split their attention to protect their internal organs and eliminate the cold qi in their bodies. Like this, the speed of the group was much slower. The deep and serene cave seemed bottomless. It was pitch black. Everyone's vision was limited to less than 10 meters. What made them feel even more despair was that the many cultivators took out illumination stones, night pearls, and the things inside the flame stones. Normally, they would be able to light up a room. However, at this moment, they could not even give off a trace of light. Duanmiking's voice came from the front. He said indifferently, "There are no other dangers in this tunnel. All the light is absorbed by the demonic qi in the air. There is no need to panic." Xiaochen looked carefully. Indeed, there were strands of black substance lingering in the air. When the light came in contact with it, it would be silently absorbed. It was very strange. Although Duanmuking said that there was no danger in this cave, Xiaochen did not let down his guard. His right hand remained on his saber hilt. He withdrew his aura, ready to attack the moment there was any strange movement. No one spoke in this strange atmosphere in the quiet cave. Only the sound of footsteps could be heard. After walking for an unknown period of time, Xiaochen felt that the tunnel under his feet was slanting more and more. They were already very deep underground. After a long time, the group's vision suddenly flashed. They finally walked out of the cave. A vast underground world appeared before their eyes. Before them was a boundless black forest. The forest was sinister and strange. Countless black fog lingered in the forest, and the roars of tyrannical beasts came from it. The roars reverberated in everyone's ears, causing them to feel frustrated and their qi and blood to surge. Unexpectedly, the roars of these beasts could disrupt their minds. "Is this the infamous ink forest?" a cultivator asked with a trembling voice. Duanmiking nodded and said, "That's right. The 3 holy masters laid a barrier around the periphery of the forest. We are safe here. If we walk another 100 meters, we will enter the boundaries of the forest. Then what are we waiting for? Where is the profound ice flower? Let's go quickly." A scion of the royal court said anxiously. Duanmuqing did not say anything else. She led the 4 experts of the Duanmu clan in first. The others followed behind in a line. When they broke through the formless barrier, Xiaochen and the others felt a gaze on them. It was as though it could see through all their secrets. Bang, bang, bang. Just at this moment, a red light appeared on the bodies of the 5 middle-aged men. After a while, they exploded, dying without a complete corpse. This sudden turn of events startled everyone. The 5 dead men were from the noble clans of the royal courts. At this moment, the scions of the royal courts all had sullen expressions. It was unknown what they were thinking. Duanmuking walked over to these people expressionlessly. He said coldly, "Didn't I say that we are not allowed to bring Martial King experts? The few of you can leave now. Go back to where you came from." Only now did everyone understand that these 5 scions from the royal courts had secretly brought Martial King experts with them. Furthermore, they had used some unknown method to fool the Duanmu clan's experts. However, in this ink forest, within the barrier of the 3 holy masters, there was nowhere for them to hide. They were blasted into smithereens. When the 5 of them heard Duanmuking's words, they did not pay too much attention. There were a few superior-grade martial saint servants behind each of them. In total, there were 20 of them. They had far more people than the Duanmu clan. Chapter 311. The leader smiled coldly and said, "Duanmuking, this is no longer the profound ice palace. Don't try to order me around. Since I am already here, there is no way for me to leave. You better obediently lead the way. Otherwise, don't blame me for being merciless." Kassier. Right after he spoke, the 20 people behind him all drew their weapons. Killing chi radiated from their bodies as they stared at Duanmuking. Reckless. Duanmuking snorted coldly. White ice ripples appeared under the feet of the 4 girls behind him. Soon, the ice ripples connected and moved to Duanmuking's feet. Boom. Instantly, Duanmuking's aura soared infinitely. The feeling he gave off was that of a peak medial grade martial king. It was very horrifying. The leader's heart tightened. He felt the danger of death. He quickly said, "Attack!" Chi. Just as he finished speaking, the subordinates behind the 5 princes turned into ice sculptures in an instant. Duanmuking pulled his palm back and clenched his fist. Kase. Kasie. All the ice sculptures shattered. They were all dead. Bang. 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 The ice fell to the ground and shattered again. The corpses inside were torn apart continuously. The 5 scions were so frightened that they turned pale. Their right hands, which were holding their sabers, started to tremble. Scram. Duanmuking said calmly. Killing 15 superior grade martial saints in an instant. The strength that Duanmuking displayed was too horrifying. Although the 5 of them were great perfection superior grade martial saints, they had not comprehended a state. They were only slightly stronger than ordinary martial saints. Compared to true geniuses, they were much weaker. When facing the current Duanmuking, they had no chance of victory. However, they were not willing to leave just like that. The leader of the scions looked at the Guyi Marquis with dissatisfaction in his heart. This was the true genius of the Guyi Marquis's residence. He hoped that the Guyi Marquis could put in a word for him. The Guyi Marquis, Ing Xiao, wore golden battle armor and carried a 2-meter-long sword on his back. It was the sacred weapon, the sky-splitting sword. Behind him were 4 cultivators dressed similarly. When he saw this person's gaze, he turned his head slightly and avoided it, ignoring this person. With his last hope shattered, he could only give up. He packed up his weapon and left the place helplessly. Using the special secret technique of her martial spirit, she perfectly transferred the energy of the 4 people to Duanmuking. This instantly raised her combat prowess to peak medial grade martial king. Many people present had discerned the secret behind Duanmuking's sudden increase in strength, but they had to admit that even if they knew the secret, they could only temporarily avoid facing Duanmuking. In the face of absolute power, sometimes techniques were useless. Xiaoqin had a good experience with the Ice Empress aura. He is killing people to establish his might. When we find the profound ice flower, those people with ulterior motives will have to think twice. One of the scions sighed softly. The value of the profound ice flower was no less than those secret treasures or high-ranked martial techniques. This was especially so for ice-attributed cultivators. It was very useful. At that time, it was hard to guarantee that there would be people who would take advantage of the chaos to target the profound ice flower. Furthermore, there was a high chance of that happening. Duanmuking did not hesitate to offend the scions of the Guyi Marquis, just because of a small excuse. Killing people was clearly a warning to the others. Xiaoqin even suspected that the Duanmu clan had purposely released these 3 martial kings to give Duanmuking a chance to establish his might. Duanmuking ignored the criticism of the crowd and said softly, "This profound ice flower is very important to my Duanmu clan. We have already waited for 100 years. Once we obtain the profound ice flower, I will immediately open the fiery sect remnant for everyone. Miss Duanmu, rest assured. We will not have any ulterior motives for the profound ice flower. Just lead the way. I am a fire-attributed cultivator. The profound ice flower will only bring me harm. Miss Duanmu, there is no need to worry. If anyone tries to snatch Miss Duanmu's profound ice flower, they will be making things difficult for me, Sun Wei. I will help you kill them." Right. If anyone tries to snatch Miss Duanmu's profound ice flower, they will be our enemy. When everyone saw Duanmuking's strength, they all echoed her words, expressing that they would not make a move to snatch the profound ice flower. When Xiaoqin saw the situation, he smiled faintly and did not say anything. Naturally, they would snatch what they should snatch. There was no point in saying anything. Duanmuking said softly, "Many thanks for everyone's help. Come with me." After Duanmuking spoke, he started to lead the crowd into the dark and strange forest. There were all sorts of tall trees in the forest. Their branches were luxuriant, and even 2 people would not be able to wrap their arms around them. There were thick leaves and some black grass on the ground. When the crowd stepped on them, they gave off a rustling sound. In this infamous ink forest, no one dared to be careless. They focused all of their attention and carefully observed their surroundings. Wuxia. Suddenly, a black snake as thick as a bowl emerged from the ground among the crowd. Its body was covered in a black chi. The densely packed scales on its body flickered with a metallic luster. With a schwa sound, it bit off the head of a cultivator from behind. It was like a black bolt of lightning flashing by. Its speed was so fast that no one could react. Chi, 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 chi. There was no time to kill that black snake. In an instant, hundreds of similar black snakes emerged from the ground. Many cultivators were caught off guard and were bitten to death. There were also those whose arms were bitten. The poison immediately spread throughout their bodies, causing them to foam at the mouth. They were poisoned to death. Xiaochen quickly dodged backward, dodging the attack of a black snake. He quickly drew the lunar shadow saber and chopped at it like a purple bolt of lightning. Dang! Dang! When the saber struck the black skin, it gave off a metallic sound. Unexpectedly, it only managed to cut off a few of the other party's scales. What a strong defense! Even with 20% of my strength, I am still unable to injure the other party. Xiaochen was astonished. The black snake felt pain and its upper body soared into the air, heading for Xiaochen. The black snake opened its mouth, revealing horrifying fangs that flickered with a cold light. Xiaochen's expression did not change. He swung the lunar shadow saber again. Like before, he only used 20% of his strength. However, he accurately chopped at the place where the scales fell. In an instant, he chopped the other party in half. Wuxia. The upper body of the black snake in the air had not died yet. It twisted its tongue and tried to bite Xiaochen's face at lightning speed. Die! Xiaochen shouted, and the lunar shadow saber turned into a purple bolt of lightning. A saber light appeared on the saber and shattered the snake's tongue. The snake turned into clumps of black mist and scattered. Even until now, the threat of the black snake had not been resolved. Xiaochen sent out a palm strike to disperse the black mist, resolving the problem. The others were not as lucky as Xiaochen. Several cultivators had clearly chopped the black snake in half. However, they did not expect the black snake to have such a strong life force. Their upper body could still attack, and they died under the snake's jaws. There were also many people who appeared very relaxed. The Guille Marquis, who carried a sword on his back, did not even draw his weapon. He punched the black snake into pieces. Countless stars flickered around Ji Changkong's body, turning into sharp sword chi. The sword chi was incomparably sharp and easily chopped the black snake in half. Every time a star flickered, a black snake would die. In an instant, Ji Changkong had killed more than 10 black snakes. Hua Yunfei held a scarlet sword in his hand. He revealed a sinister smile as the sword pierced through the black snake, giving off a zzz sound. The black snake's body quickly shriveled up. It strangely absorbed all the black life force. After it absorbed the black life force, the red light on the sword became even more dazzling. The sword in Mu Yanxue's hand was extremely fast. In the blink of an eye, she had sent out an unknown number of killing strikes. The black snake had just leaped into the air when she chopped it into countless tiny pieces. The scion of the Shiha province's Yan clan, Yan Qianhe's big brother, sent out a huge black hand. It clenched tightly and pinched several black snakes together, preventing them from moving. Du Emyuking was even more relaxed. He did not even need to make a move. Those black snakes slithered around the 4 of them. Before they could get close, they were slowly frozen into ice sculptures. After a while, they turned into countless pieces of ice. Xiaochen looked around for a while, but he did not find Chu Chaoyan. When he looked up, he saw that Chu Chaoyan had already leaped to the top of a large tree. Chu Chaoyan had a faint smile on his face as he looked at the people below. It was as though this matter had nothing to do with him. When the group finished killing all the black snakes, they counted the number of people. They discovered that the first wave of demonic beasts had killed more than 20 people, including the people who died at Du Emyuking's hands earlier. There were only 70 or 80 people left out of the original 100. This was a heavy loss. However, most of the people who died were the servants and subordinates of the science. The truly strong outstanding talents did not even suffer any light injuries. The strength of the black snakes should be between medial grade rank 6 demonic beasts and peak grade demonic beasts. Aside from their large numbers and strong life force, they did not have any other trump cards. They could not truly threaten the group. After resting for a while, under Duanmuking's lead, the group continued on their way. Along the way, the demonic beasts they met became stronger. Aside from cultivators who comprehended states like Ji Chongkong, the other scions also started to show signs of injury. The number of people also decreased by more than 60. Before they reached the Firely sect remnant, only half of the original number remained. Some people wanted to retreat. However, if they left the group and returned alone, that would be seeking death. The cruel nature of the path of cultivation was very real at this moment. If one was not strong enough or had a strong luck, they would become a stepping stone for others in the blink of an eye, coldly forgotten by others. Many living examples appeared before Xiao Chen. This made him even more determined to become stronger. He could not become a stepping stone for others. Suddenly, Duanmuking stopped and pointed to a large tree in front. He said, "We have arrived. The profound ice flower is behind that tree. However, there is a rank 7 demonic beast guarding it. We have to kill it before we can pick the profound ice flower." A rank 7 demonic beast. Everyone's expression changed. A scion said unhappily, "Duanmuking, didn't you say that the profound ice flower is at the periphery of the ink forest? How can there be a rank 7 demonic beast? Are you messing with us?" Chapter 312. Duanmuking said calmly, "I did not lie to you. This is indeed the periphery of the ink forest. I also did not guarantee that there would not be any rank 7 demonic beasts in the periphery." Indeed, Duanmuking only said that the profound ice flower was at the periphery of the ink forest. He did not guarantee that there would not be any rank 7 demonic beasts at the periphery. There was no contradiction in Xiao Chen's words. No one could find a reason to refute him. The person who asked felt depressed, but there was nothing he could do. Ji Chongkong said indifferently, "Duanmuking, just tell us what kind of demonic beast it is, and what its combat prowess is. If it is a regular rank 7 demonic beast, with so many of us, we should be able to defeat it." When Duanmuking heard this, he said, "In that case, I'll be direct. The demonic beast guarding the profound ice flower is a peak rank 7 demonic beast, the Scarlet Flame Chief. Its strength is comparable to a medial grade martial king. The Duanmu clan has sent people here a few times, but they have not succeeded." Hua Yunfei frowned and said, "Since that is the case, did you make any preparations? Don't tell me that you are placing all your hopes on us." Duanmuking nodded and said, "Half of the people that the Duanmu clan sent out previously died on the way here. The remaining people had their combat prowess greatly reduced. Naturally, they are not a match for this Scarlet Flame Chief. However, it is different this time. Among us, there are at least 10 people who are not injured. Hence, I only need the help of these 10 people. The remaining people just need to help chase away the demonic beasts that are rushing over." Hua Yunfei said indifferently, "You speak so confidently. However, you have not said what is your trump card to defeat the Scarlet Flame Chief." Duanmuking revealed an indifferent expression on her cold face. She said softly, "Trump card. I am the trump card of this operation. Do you still have any questions?" What bold words! Everyone thought to themselves. However, when they thought about it carefully, it was indeed as Duanmuking said. The Duanmu clan's special secret technique of combining their strength with their body could only be used by the princess. This was indeed a trump card. A strange light flashed in Hua Yunfei's eyes as he said, "All right, I have no more questions. Now which 10 people do you need help from?" Everyone was curious when they heard that. Who were the 10 people that Duanmuking had mentioned who had not suffered any injuries and could still maintain their full combat strength? Duanmuking said softly, "I hope that the people I choose will not reject my invitation. Only by killing this Scarlet Flame Chief will I open the doors to the Firely sect remnant. Otherwise, you will have made a wasted trip." After saying that, she began to stare at the crowd and slowly called out a name. Chu Chaoyan, you have no reason to reject my invitation. Chu Chaoyan's expression did not reveal the slightest hint of surprise. He smiled indifferently and said, of course not. Ji Chongkong, Mu Yanxue, Hua Yunfei the Guyi Marquis, Ing Xiao Yin Qixue, Shifeng Sunwei, you have no reason to reject my invitation, right? The 7 people that were called out did not say anything, tacitly agreeing to Duanmuking's invitation. These 7 people were either the proud disciples of the 3 great sects, or the scions of noble clans that possessed inherited martial spirits. The crowd was not too surprised. There were already 8 people, and only 2 remained. The crowd started to wonder who else had not been called out. Suddenly, Duanmuking's gaze stopped at an extremely hidden corner of the crowd. The crowd followed her gaze and discovered that the person Duanmuking was looking at was Du Hao. The Du clan to the south could be considered a clan with some power. However, it was far from the 2 inherited noble clans, the Ji clan and the Sun clan. Furthermore, along the way, they did not see anything outstanding about Du Hao. The crowd was very surprised at Duanmuking's choice of this person. Du Hao felt Duanmuking's gaze and smiled gently. Miss Duanmu, don't tell me you think that I am one of the 10 people? Duanmuking's gaze was like a pillar, as though she could see through the other party's disguise. She countered with a question. What do you think? Du Hao shook his head slightly. He was not willing to stand out at this moment. However, if he rejected, he would easily become the target of everyone. The Scarlet Flame Chief had to be killed. Otherwise, the crowd would not be able to enter the Fierly Sect remnant. If he was unwilling, Duanmuking would use it as an excuse to not take action. The people that were called out earlier would definitely be unwilling as well. However, after weighing the pros and cons, they could only agree. Since Miss Duanmu thinks highly of me, I will reluctantly do it. Thinking of this, Du Hao could only agree to the other party's decision. There was still 1 person missing from the 10. The crowd followed Duanmuking's gaze again. Their gazes stopped at Xiao Chun, who was standing in a corner. Xiao Chun was not surprised at this. Without waiting for Duanmuking to say anything, he walked out. The others were not surprised at Xiao Chun's selection. After all, even Sun Wei could be selected. There was no need to mention Xiao Chun, who could easily defeat Sun Wei. When Duanmuking saw that the 10 people agreed, he said to the remaining 50, split into groups of 5 and spread out for a kilometer. Just don't let any demonic beasts get close to us. Duanmuking made such arrangements to prevent these people from taking advantage of the chaos to snatch the profound ice flower. They had to obtain the profound ice flower no matter what. Although the 50 people were unwilling, dealing with other demonic beasts was better than dealing with a rank 7 demonic beast. Furthermore, the Fierly Sect remnant had not been opened yet. They could only listen to Duanmuking's arrangements for now. After a while, after the 50 people left, Duanmuking said, there is a mound behind that tree. The profound ice flower grows there. The Scarlet Flame Chief never left the profound ice flower. Xiao Chun looked in the direction Xiao Chun pointed. That tree was about a kilometer away from the group. The trunk would require 5 people to encircle it. The tree was several hundred meters tall. Its branches were lush, and its roots were intertwined. It was tall and straight, blocking the group's vision. Let me see what kind of demonic beast this Scarlet Flame Chief is. Hua Yunfei shouted ferociously. The scarlet sword in his hand suddenly gave off a blazing scarlet light. So, a sharp and surging scarlet sword chi flew at the tree quickly. The scarlet sword chi was like a sharp saber, easily chopping the tree in half. Rumble! The huge trunk of the tree landed heavily on the ground. The group's vision immediately widened. They finally saw the Scarlet Flame Chief. It looked very similar to the apes on Earth. It stood upright on the ground, and was 8 meters tall. Its shoulders were broad and its body was strong. The muscles on its chest looked like small mountains of meat. Its entire body was covered in black fur. A deep scarlet flame burned in its eyes. The strangest thing was that it carried a 2-meter-long, palm-wide sword on its shoulder. On a mound behind the Scarlet Flame Chief, there was a crystalline, pure white flower blooming strangely. That should be the profound ice flower. The scarlet sword chi did not slow down as it flew forward quickly. When the Scarlet Flame Chief saw the sword chi flying at it, Its lips curled up into a sinister and horrifying smile. The Scarlet Flame Chief used its left hand to slap the sword chi flying at it. With a bang, this incredibly sharp sword chi immediately vanished. It turned into strands of scarlet light in the wind and returned to nothingness. Hua Yunfei's expression changed slightly. He said in astonishment, "It is indeed powerful. It managed to smack away my blood fiend sword chi with one slap. I wonder what kind of might it has when it uses its full power." "Attack!" Duanmuking shouted and immediately led the 4 Duanmu clan cultivators forward. Everyone followed after. To Xiao Chun and the others, a distance of 1,000 meters only took a few breaths of time. Soon, they arrived before the Scarlet Flame Chief. When they got close, the 10 of them could clearly feel the overwhelming aura of the Scarlet Flame Chief surging towards them. However, this aura was far inferior to the Ice Empress. Although everyone felt some pressure, it did not affect their combat prowess. Secret technique, ice condensation. Duanmuking snorted coldly. The black hair on her head suddenly turned ice-cold white. That cold and exquisite face completely lost all human emotions. It looked cold and emotionless. Everywhere her gaze passed, even the air was covered in frost. The 4 girls behind her quickly transferred their essence to Duanmuking. In an instant, Duanmuking's aura suppressed the Scarlet Flame Chief's aura. Frost rage. From the start, Duanmuking did not hide his strength. Suddenly, a boundless cold wind blew under the Scarlet Flame Chief's feet. As the cold wind blew, the temperature dropped rapidly. After a while, a visible white cold chi appeared in the wind. The cold chi spun around violently, creating a huge whirlpool. The Scarlet Flame Chief's huge body struggled to move in the whirlpool, trying to break free. However, the surrounding temperature was too low. Furthermore, the intense cold wind blew. It could not break free from the center of the whirlpool. So, Duanmuqing's expression turned grave. She clenched her fist and a boundless cold chi immediately gathered. It was like a block of ice was buried in the Scarlet Flame Chief's body with a ca sound. After a while, the surface of the Scarlet Flame Chief was covered in ice, turning it into a huge ice sculpture. The Scarlet Flame Chief was instantly frozen by Duanmuking. This was somewhat surprising. However, no one thought that the Scarlet Flame Chief would die so easily. The Guyi Marquis, Ing Xiao, took out the sky-splitting sword from his back and leaped into the air. The sky-splitting sword hacked down at the Scarlet Flame Chief's head. Everywhere the sky-splitting sword passed, ripples appeared in the air. The Guyi Marquis's figure suddenly became blurry in everyone's vision. It was like a reflection in the water, swaying back and forth leisurely. The sky-splitting sword is indeed a complete holy weapon. Xiao Chen was astonished. He had seen the same scene in Mu Qingshue's Beauty Under the Moon. Naturally, he knew what was happening. Xiao Chen used the Daos contained in the holy weapon to change the laws of heaven and earth in the instant he made his move. This confused one's sense of space, causing them to lose their 5 senses. One might think that he was far away, but he was actually right in front of them. One might think that he was right in front of them, but when they swung their sabers, they would never be able to hit him. Kasi. Strands of scarlet earth fire slowly rose from the Scarlet Flame Chief's feet. The ice on the Scarlet Flame Chief's body quickly melted. In the blink of an eye, it recovered its mobility. Guagua. The Scarlet Flame Chief laughed strangely. It swung the huge sword that it carried. Unexpectedly, there were blurry ripples in the sky. Chapter 313. The Scarlet Flame Chief was actually carrying a holy weapon on its shoulder. Everyone could not help but be astonished. A demonic beast carrying a huge weapon was already very strange. Furthermore, this huge weapon was actually a holy weapon. However, their eyes were immediately filled with desire. Sun Wei smiled coldly and said, "I want this holy weapon. No one is to snatch it from me." Sun Wei drew his sword, and a setting sun appeared behind him. It shone on the sword, giving off a dazzling radiance. This was the Sun Clan's inherited martial spirit, Lonely Waning Moon. "Kill!" Sun Wei shouted. He did not wait for the results of the fight between the Scarlet Flame Chief and the Guyi Marquis to come out. He leaped into the air and charged forward. When the laws of the world formed by the 2 holy weapons clashed, The entire space started to tremble at a visible rate. Everyone could feel a strange energy being transmitted over. When this feeling disappeared, Mu Ran suddenly realized that his body had unknowingly moved a few hundred meters to the side. His formation was completely disrupted. Sun Wei, who was in the air, had not reacted in time. The sword that he was sending at the Scarlet Flame Chief had actually chopped at Chu Chaoyan. Fortunately, Chu Chaoyan dodged in advance. Otherwise, if Chu Chaoyan was caught off guard and used his inherited martial spirit, it would not be good for him. The clash of the holy weapons actually caused the laws of space to become chaotic. Fortunately, the area affected was not large. If a real sage were to make a move, everyone present might have been transported to other places, and there was no telling if they would still be alive. Kung Chang. It was like the Guyi Marquis' sky-splitting sword and the Scarlet Flame Chief's huge weapon finally clashed. There was a loud explosion and the Guyi Marquis was knocked back like a cannonball. Bang! 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 The Guyi Marquis crashed into many trees. He was knocked back more than 500 meters before he landed heavily on the ground. The Scarlet Flame Chief's tall and sturdy body moved back continuously. It did not take a single step back. A huge force was transmitted to the ground, causing it to tremble continuously. The Scarlet Flame Chief retreated all the way to the mound before it slowly came to a stop. Duan said, "Don't clash head-on with him. The Scarlet Flame Chief is a demonic beast known for its strength. Even a superior-grade martial king would find it hard to endure its true strength." When everyone heard this, they were all deeply shocked at the Guyi Marquis' strength. The other party was able to knock the Scarlet Flame Chief back by 100 meters. How strong was he? Wuxia. The Scarlet Flame Chief steadied itself and stomped on the ground, causing the entire forest to shake. Its body flew through the air and slashed at Mu Yanxue with lightning speed. It seemed that this Scarlet Flame Chief's eyesight and intelligence were extremely shocking. It could tell that Duan Muqing was difficult to deal with, so it did not attack her first. Instead, it chose to attack the weaker Mu Yanxue, preparing to take them down one by one. Mu Yanxue's expression did not change at all. She leaped into the air and unsheathed her sword. Her speed was even faster than the Scarlet Flame Chief's. In the blink of an eye, she had already slashed out more than 100 times. Clang, clang, clang. When the sword struck the Scarlet Flame Chief's body, a metallic sound rang out. Mu Yanxue's attack was actually unable to break through its defenses. Dragon Seizing Hand. When the Shiha Province's Yan clan scion, Yan Qixue, saw the situation, he shouted and executed the Yan clan's inherited martial technique. A huge black hand appeared out of nowhere. Yan Qixue clenched his fist and the huge black hand grabbed the Scarlet Flame Chief's huge body tightly, preventing it from moving. Mu Yanxue grasped this opportunity and her sword trembled. A light exploded out and quickly pierced towards the Scarlet Flame Chief's right eye. Guagua. The Scarlet Flame Chief laughed strangely. Its ugly face revealed an incomparably sinister smile. Its scarlet eyes suddenly spat out two berserk flames. The ferocious flames instantly burned the surrounding air, making it difficult for people to breathe. Mu Yanxue was caught off guard. Clearly, she did not expect the Scarlet Flame Chief to have such a move. Her expression suddenly changed and she quickly retreated. However, the two flames quickly merged together. Their speed strangely increased, immediately surpassing Mu Yanxue's speed. Ice! At the critical moment, Duan Muqing shouted, and arrived before Mu Yanxue in a flash. His white hair fluttered in the air, and his robes fluttered continuously. There was a trace of arrogance on Mu Yanxue's cold and frosty face. Unexpectedly, there was a trace of the elegance of the Ice Empress. Mu Yanxue pushed her right hand forward and a boundless cold wind blew. The cold wind rustled and the temperature plummeted. The flames that the Scarlet Flame Chief shot out were instantly frozen. Mu Yanxue closed his fingers, and the ice immediately fell to the ground. Many thanks. Mu Yanxue thanked Xiao Chun, and took advantage of this opportunity to quickly move away and land on the ground. The Scarlet Flame Chief shouted ferociously. Its aura spread out in all directions, causing the surrounding leaves to fall. A strong wind blew and the leaves danced in the wind. Bang! The black veins on the Scarlet Flame Chief's body bulged as it tried to push away the black hand. Yen Qixue's expression turned grave as he held on bitterly. However, after Yen Qixue shouted, the Scarlet Flame Chief's bones crackled continuously. Its body actually grew at a horrifying rate. It shook its arms and pushed away the black hand. Yen Qixue immediately vomited a mouthful of blood. His complexion was frighteningly pale. He stuffed a medicinal pill into his mouth and quickly retreated. Gua gua. After the Scarlet Flame Chief struggled free, it was like a wild horse that had broken free of its reins. It laughed strangely and moved its legs quickly on the ground. With every step it took, the ground trembled slightly. Earlier, the Scarlet Flame Chief was able to send the Guilly Marquis flying with one strike. Now that its strength was berserk, no one would be able to block an attack from it. With a thought, Duanmuking executed the State of Ice. Suddenly, snowflakes drifted down from the sky. With a thought, ice walls rose from the ground, blocking the Scarlet Flame Chief. This gave everyone time to attack. Bang! 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 The Scarlet Flame Chief's huge body was like a small mountain. Thick ice walls were able to block Xiao Chen's and Sun Wei's attacks at the same time. Now when the Scarlet Flame Chief charged in, the ice walls were like breaking dead branches, breaking into pieces. The snowflakes drifted down even more intensely. The willow catkin snowflakes had already become the size of goose feathers. A thick layer of snow covered the ground of the mountain forest. It was like winter had arrived. Duanmuking finally brought out his state of ice to its limits. Boundless wind and snow gathered. An even sharper ice wall than before soared into the sky. The Scarlet Flame Chief's unstoppable charge was finally blocked. Its huge body crashed into the tall ice wall and bounced back with a bang. However, before everyone could rejoice, the instant the Scarlet Flame Chief retreated, it swung its sword and broke the ice wall in half. However, Duanmuking had achieved his goal. He had successfully delayed the Scarlet Flame Chief. Astral swordplay, eternal light! Ji Chongkong shouted, and the entire mountain forest suddenly turned pitch black. Countless stars appeared above everyone's heads. In the distant starry sky, Ji Chongkong's life star suddenly lit up. A resplendent light descended, falling into the 9 heavens. The instant the light landed, Ji Chongkong held his sword in his right hand and swung it. Instantly a sword light appeared. The moment the sword light appeared, the starlight in the sky immediately dimmed. Under the illumination of the eternal light, nothing that gave off light dared to overtake its sharpness or break its radiance. The moment the sword light appeared, the starlight in the sky immediately dimmed. Under the illumination of the eternal light, nothing that gave off light dared to break its radiance. When the sword was drawn, the light illuminated the 9 heavens. The starlight dimmed. Only the light of this sword could be seen. This was the Ji clan's inherited sword technique, astral swordplay. After a year, Xiao Chen saw Ji Chongkong execute this move again. It was just as breathtaking as before. This time, Xiao Chen saw something even more profound. The senior of the Ji clan who created this sword technique could only be said to be an absolute genius. Its aura was so great that it encompassed the entire universe. From Xiao Chen's point of view, although the might of this sword technique was startling, it was definitely not complete. The power of the heavens should be far more than this. Boom! The sword light was like a pillar. While Xiao Chen was thinking, it struck the Scarlet Flame Chief's chest with a bang. A horrifying wound immediately appeared on the Scarlet Flame Chief's chest. Black blood flowed out like a fountain. Everyone rejoiced in their hearts. They finally managed to injure the Scarlet Flame Chief for the first time. They saw hope for victory. Ice break. Duanmuking took advantage of the opportunity and shouted. The snow in the air gathered continuously. After a while, it formed a huge ice bird. The ice bird spread its wings and let out a cry. It looked very lifelike as it rushed at the Scarlet Flame Chief, carrying a sharp cold wind. Under the baptism of the eternal light, the Scarlet Flame Chief was significantly injured. Its originally fast-moving body started to slow down. Xiao Chen's gaze was like a pillar. When he looked carefully, he discovered that this was not the case. It was not Ji Chongkong's sword light that caused the Scarlet Flame Chief's movements to turn stiff. Instead, it was caused by Duanmuking's state of ice. At the start, the effect was not big. However, As time went by, especially after the Scarlet Flame Chief was injured, the effect became very obvious. Xiaochen looked around and saw the 4 girls following behind Duanmuking. At this moment, they were all standing in a corner far away. Ice appeared under their feet. Combined with some kind of mysterious secret technique, energy was continuously transmitted to Duanmuking's body. This caused the strength of her state of ice to increase continuously, reaching a horrifying level. Furthermore, Duanmuking's control over this state had reached a level where she could control it as she pleased. She placed all the pressure on the Scarlet Flame Chief. The others did not feel the pressure from her state at all. If it were not for Xiao Chen's deep comprehension of states, he would not have been able to see the mysteries behind it. The Scarlet Flame Chief was very intelligent. It quickly felt the mysteries behind it. It roared ferociously and a fierce scarlet flame started burning in its eyes. Boom! The huge sword in its hand lit up with a blazing flame. The flame was like a pillar with strands of black flames lingering around it. The flames of the Scarlet Flame Chief actually showed signs of turning into a demonic flame. The Scarlet Flame Chief did its best to leap forward and held the sword with both hands. The intense flames flew out and smashed the huge ice bird into countless pieces of ice. The instant the Scarlet Flame Chief shattered the ice bird, it stabbed the sword into the ground. Instantly, a scarlet flame with black smoke lingering around it appeared 10 meters around it. Xiaochen stood in the distance and looked at this scene. He had a pensive look in his eyes as he muttered to himself. The flames blocked Duanmuking's state. No, not blocked. They burned it alive. Chapter 3:14. Unexpectedly, states could be broken in such a way. This was an eye-opener for Xiaochen. It looked like if he met cultivators with strong states in the future, he could use this method as a reference. Guagua. The Scarlet Flame Chief laughed strangely. It had completely recovered its mobility. Without the suppression of the state, the wound on its chest started to heal quickly. Rise! The Scarlet Flame Chief pulled out its sword and stomped on the ground. Its speed instantly reached the speed of sound. It instantly broke through the range of Duanmuking's state. The flames that soared up formed a flaming tail and gathered back on the sword. The Scarlet Flame Chief actually hacked down at Du Hao, who had not made a move yet. This sword carried a surging heat wave. The Scarlet Flame Chief held the sword with both hands. Its strength was even more horrifying than before. Even an inferior grade martial king would be turned into a pile of mush if struck by this sword. It looks like this Scarlet Flame Chief knows how to pick a pushover. However, is Du Hao really a pushover? Du Hao, who was dressed in black and did not carry any weapons, looked at the Scarlet Flame Chief charging at him ferociously, moving faster than the speed of sound. Du Hao's expression turned grave, but he did not panic. Furthermore, he had no intention of retreating. If he retreated now, even if he dodged the attack, he would still be injured by the shockwave. With the strength of the Scarlet Flame Chief, even if it was just the shockwave, Du Hao would be significantly injured. Huchi! Just as the huge sword was about to land, Du Hao's left foot bounced off the ground. He leaped up gently and kicked the Scarlet Flame Chief's chest with his right foot. However, the force of this kick did not injure the Scarlet Flame Chief at all. It did not even feel any resistance. Its huge body continued to fly forward quickly. However, the strange thing was that Du Hao's kick seemed to have some sort of adhesive force. It stuck to the Scarlet Flame Chief's chest. After that, he pushed off gently and quickly leaped over its head, arriving behind the Scarlet Flame Chief. Ha! Without waiting for his body to land on the ground, Du Hao let out an explosive shout. His body quickly flipped, and he kicked the Scarlet Flame Chief's back, creating a thunderous explosion in the air. The strength of this kick was so great that it caused the air to tremble. Countless leaves in the forest fell one after another, and were immediately crushed into countless pieces. Everything happened in the blink of an eye. From the moment Du Hao jumped, turned around and kicked, it was only the blink of an eye. However, his movements were extremely coherent. He leaped up and stuck to his opponent's chest, leaped over, and did a 180-degree horizontal kick in the air. It was as smooth as flowing water, completely natural and without the slightest flaw. The Scarlet Flame Chief, who was traveling at the speed of sound, did not expect such a sharp kick to its back. Xiao Chen's rapidly flying body could not stop at all. His center of gravity immediately became unstable, and his body shot forward like a cannonball. Bang! He hit the ground head first, creating a huge crater with a loud bang. Dust and dirt filled the air, and countless black clouds of dust immediately rose into the air. Du Hao's body landed firmly on the ground. His expression was calm, as if he had just done something insignificant. However, everyone was shocked in their hearts. The Scarlet Flame Chief, which even Duamyuking could not control with his extreme state, was actually easily toyed with in the palm of his hand. This person is not simple, Xiao Chen thought to himself. This person looks ordinary, but he is not simple. Although Xiao Chen looked ordinary, he brought out his combat techniques to the extreme. He borrowed force to fight force, moving 500 kilograms with a little force. Boom! The Scarlet Flame Chief was thoroughly enraged. It leaped out of the crater and brandished its huge sword, hacking at Du Hao. Every time the Scarlet Flame Chief swung its sword, a ripple appeared in space. The Tao of the holy weapon was activated once again. When the people who had not made a move saw this scene, their eyes lit up. This was a holy weapon that could be used frequently. It was almost certain that this holy weapon was not severely damaged. The Tao of it was definitely very complete. It could be used so many times in the hands of a demonic beast. If it was used by them, it would be even more powerful. The change in the natural laws made Du Hao's expression change. The Scarlet Flame Chief's figure moved left and right, far and near. He could not figure it out at all, and danger surrounded him. Furthermore, Du Hao discovered that his movement technique was restricted as well. He clearly felt that he had advanced 10 meters, but in reality, he had only advanced 5 meters. Furthermore, his direction was very wrong. This was the might of a holy weapon. It contained the great Tao. It used the power of the sages to change the natural laws, disrupting the natural laws. In a battle, it would truly throw people into confusion. Du Hao's expression changed completely. He knew that if this continued, he would be struck sooner or later. With his defense, he would not have any chance of surviving the Scarlet Flame Chief's attack. Retreat. Taking advantage of the sword chopping down, Du Hao's expression turned grave. He smashed his palm against the tip of the sword. Using the huge force from the tip of the sword, he quickly moved back. In an instant, he moved 500 meters. After that, he landed firmly on the ground. His complexion was somewhat pale, and blood leaked out from the corner of his mouth. There was too little time. In the end, the force contained in the tip of the sword was not completely resolved. This Scarlet Flame Chief will not be able to last much longer. It has not obtained the recognition of the holy weapon. It recklessly used the natural laws. It cannot endure the formless pressure of the heavenly Daos. The Guyi Marquis, who also possessed a holy weapon, spoke with a pale complexion. Earlier, he had forcefully clashed with the Scarlet Flame Chief. Even now, he had not recovered from his internal injuries. When everyone heard this, they looked carefully. It was indeed as he said. The Scarlet Flame Chief's body, which had previously swelled up, had become thinner at some point in time. Furthermore, its aura was much weaker than before. The sword wound that Ji Chongkong left on its chest did not recover. Instead, it became more intense. The blood from the wound became even more horrifying. Blood kills the world, fresh clothes and furious horses. Setting sun and lonely soul, 100 battles startling deities. Earth-shattering and heaven-shaking, finger-piercing the heavens. Hua Yunfei, Shifeng, and Sun Wei, who had not made a move yet, finally made their move after storing up energy for a long time. They executed the peak attacks of the inherited martial techniques without holding anything back. Instantly, all sorts of lights flickered in the forest and a strong wind blew. The energies of the 3 inherited martial techniques merged together and surged in the air. Many trees were chopped in half at the waist, turning into countless pieces. Facing the 3 horrifying attacks, the Scarlet Flame Chief revealed a look of fear on its ugly face. It looked at the profound ice flower on the mound, its eyes filled with dissatisfaction. The huge sword swung up and changed the natural laws again, trying to block the attacks of the 3. However, this time, when it was only swung its sword halfway, the huge sword in its hand went out of control and flew out. The natural laws shattered, and the Scarlet Flame Chief suffered a huge backlash. It vomited large mouthfuls of blood, and became very weak. Bang! 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 There were 3 loud sounds as the attacks of the 3 landed on the Scarlet Flame Chief. The incredibly weak Scarlet Flame Chief could not withstand the attacks of the 3 inherited martial techniques. The Scarlet Flame Chief's body was badly mutilated. Black fiendish chi flowed out continuously. Its life force quickly faded. I, Hua Yunfei, want this holy weapon. Scram. The holy weapon is mine, Sunways. Only I, Shifeng, am qualified to obtain the holy weapon. Seeing the holy weapon fly out, after the 3 made their moves, they no longer cared about the severely injured Scarlet Flame Chief. They immediately started to fight over the holy weapon, not giving way to each other. It had to be said that this scene was very ironic. The Guyi Marquis and Yan Qixue were injured. Ji Chongkong and Mu Yanxue had exhausted a lot of essence. Duan Yuking's attention was completely focused on the profound ice flower. The only ones who could continue fighting for the holy weapon were Xiao Chun and Chu Chaoyan, who had not made a move yet. However, the gazes of the 2 of them were not on the holy weapon. Instead, they were on the severely injured Scarlet Flame Chief on the ground. The Scarlet Flame Chief was a demonic beast that had started to comprehend demonic fire. Its demonic core was worth at least 1,000 medial-grade spirit stones. The holy weapon was too eye-catching. Even if they managed to snatch it, they might not be able to leave safely. However, the demonic core was different. It did not have an obvious target. Furthermore, its effects were very direct. It was unlike a holy weapon. Even if one obtained it, one would need a long time to comprehend the Tao within. Otherwise, if one recklessly used the power of a holy weapon, the Scarlet Flame Chief was a good example. How could the laws of heaven and earth change so easily? The 2 of them exchanged glances. Their gazes were like swords clashing in the air. Their auras did not give way. They were determined to obtain the Scarlet Flame Chief's demonic core. Uchi. Suddenly, Chu Chaoyan made his move. He sent out 2 strands of sharp sword chi from his fingers. In an instant, he dug out the demonic core in the Scarlet Flame Chief's chest. The Scarlet Flame Chief cried out in pain. However, it was to no avail. It did not have any ability to resist. After the demonic core left its body, the scarlet flames burning in its eyes were completely extinguished. The purple demonic core burned with scarlet flames as it quickly flew out of the Scarlet Flame Chief's body. Chu Chaoyan stretched out his hand and a suction force immediately appeared, sucking the demonic core into his hand. However, Xiaochen did not give him this opportunity. He started circulating the blue dragon cloud soaring art. His speed immediately reached its peak, and he caught up to the demonic core that continued to fly. Bang! Just as Xiaochen caught the demonic core, Chu Chaoyan arrived. He used his palm as a saber and chopped down on Xiaochen's wrist. The purple demonic core immediately left his hand and flew high into the air. Bang! 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 The 2 of them immediately leaped into the air and exchanged moves continuously. Punches and palms flew back and forth. Energy flew everywhere. In an instant, they exchanged dozens of moves. The intense wind blew the purple demonic core higher and higher. Boom! Suddenly, a golden light flashed in Chu Chaoyan's eyes. He immediately shot out a strand of golden flames at Xiaochen's face. Xiaochen quickly used the purple thunder true fire to resist. Bang! The heavenly fire scattered the purple flames. However, the golden flames continued flying towards Xiaochen. Helpless, Xiaochen could only land and quickly dodge. Sorry, this demonic core belongs to me. Chu Chaoyan smiled gently and leaped into the air again. It looked like he was about to grab the demonic core. After Xiaochen landed, he did not panic. He instantly activated the windwalk shoes and his speed reached the speed of sound. Just as Chu Chaoyan was about to succeed, Xiaochen turned into a beam of purple light and flashed by. Chu Chaoyan turned into a beam of purple light and flashed in front of Chu Chaoyan. When the purple light vanished, Chu Chaoyan clenched his fist but found nothing. Without any hesitation, Xiaochen quickly tossed the burning demonic core into the universe ring. He did not give Chu Chaoyan any more chances. Chapter 315. Dong. 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 Urgent footsteps came from all directions. The people in the periphery had sensed that the Scarlet Flame Chief's aura had disappeared and were rushing over. After Chu Chaoyan landed, he saw the crowd rushing over. A strange look flashed in his eyes. Finally, he shook his head and gave up on the fight for the demonic core. This was not the time to fight yet. The truly good things had not appeared in the fiery sect. If both sides were injured, it would only benefit the others. It was not worth it for a demonic core containing an inferior-grade demonic flame. Hua Yunfei split apart Sunwei and Shifeng with his sword. Then he grasped the huge sword firmly and laughed. "This holy weapon is mine." Sunwei and Shifeng combined were not a match for Hua Yunfei, who had comprehended the ancient blood soul. In the end, he was more skilled and managed to snatch the holy weapon. Kasie. Kai. However, just as he finished speaking, the huge sword began to shatter into pieces. After a while, only the hilt was left of the huge sword, which was still as good as before. Hua Yunfei was completely stunned. He said in disbelief, "How can it be like this?" Sunwei and Shifeng were both stunned as well. Then they laughed loudly. "Hua Yunfei, it looks like you are not fated to obtain a holy weapon." Ji Changkong said indifferently, "This holy weapon was not maintained properly and was used carelessly. Furthermore, it has been around for too long. It is normal for it to be damaged." Hua Yunfei's face flushed red. He was extremely angry. He had not expected that the holy weapon that he had obtained after so much difficulty would end up in vain. This was the same situation as in the ancient remnant. He had just snatched the sky-splitting sword, but the holy weapon automatically recognized him as its master. The Guyi Marquis obtained it for nothing. Trash! Hua Yunfei shouted angrily, and threw the sword hilt to the ground. The sword hilt rolled to Xiao Chen's feet. Xiao Chen glanced at it, and saw that the sword hilt had cracked. There seemed to be something in it. He glanced at Hua Yunfei, and saw that he had given up on the sword hilt, so he picked it up. Looking at the crowd that had gathered around him, Zhang Xian did not immediately open the sword hilt. Instead, he quietly kept it in his bosom. Has the Scarlet Flame Chief been killed? Did Duan Yuqing get the mysterious ice flower? When the 50 people guarding the perimeter arrived, they immediately asked. The people present pointed to the Scarlet Flame Chief's corpse on the ground. The result was obvious. Thud thud thud. For ice walls suddenly rose up from the mound. The ice walls quickly connected together to form a square-shaped ice palace, enveloping Duan Yuqing's group of 5 tightly within it. Duan Yuqing is really cautious, Xiao Chen thought to himself. Things have already come to this point, yet he is still worried. Everyone's gazes immediately gathered over. Someone said, "I heard that the mysterious ice flower can only be completely plucked using a very special method. I wonder if Duan Yuqing has grasped this method?" Another person smiled and said, "What special method? As long as he cultivates the mysterious ice incantation to the 10th layer, he will be able to easily pluck the mysterious ice chi transformation stage. This is not a secret, it is just an inherited martial technique. Others cannot practice it. The mysterious ice incantation is a peak earth-ranked cultivation technique. Could it be that Duan Yuqing has already cultivated it to the 10th layer? That is too horrifying. It should be true. Ever since she was defeated by Xiao Chun in Savage Forest, she has entered into a state of bitter cultivation. Her cultivation has increased at a terrifying rate. I wonder where that Xiao Chun is now. Duan Yuqing swore that if she does not defeat him, she will not inherit the position of the Duanmu clan's princess." After waiting for a long time, everyone started to feel bored. They started to chat about the Duanmu clan. As they chatted, the topic actually shifted to Xiao Chen. Xiao Chen was speechless. He thought back to the day when he snatched away Duan Yuqing's space on the heaven-soaring platform. Duan Yuqing said to him, "Even if some things are yours, even if you take them away, you will spit them out." It looks like I have really become her heart demon. Xiao Chen smiled bitterly in his heart. Xiao Chen was her heart demon. Ji Changkong, the Guyi Marquis, Hua Yunfei, and the others were his heart demons as well. A large part of the reason why Xiao Chen accepted this mission was because he wanted to see for himself how strong these people were. After all, it was difficult to gain a concrete understanding just by relying on Fatso's side of the story. It was better to see for himself before he could truly understand. If he did not truly defeat these people, Xiaochen would not have any thoughts of leaving the great Qin nation. This would leave an eternal regret in his heart, preventing him from cultivating his mental state to consummation in the future. Look, Du Emyuking is coming out. Quickly get her to open the fiery sex remnant, someone with sharp eyes quickly said. They saw the squarish ice house slowly melting. Du Emyuking and the others quickly walked out. The profound ice flower on the mound had completely disappeared. Hua Yunfei said sullenly, Du Emyuking, you have already obtained the profound ice flower. You can open the fiery sex remnant now, right? Seeing everyone's anxious gazes, Du Emyuking said calmly, as you wish. Xiaochen opened his hand and a boundless frost covered the mound. The specks of frost were like stars as they entered the mound. After a while, it turned into an ice mound. Boom! Du Emyuking clenched his fist tightly, and the ice mound immediately exploded with a bang. Countless ice shards scattered and fell to the ground. The original mound disappeared, and a dark hole appeared. The hole was so deep that the bottom could not be seen. A cold wind blew out from it. This is the entrance to the fiery sex remnant. I have already obtained the profound ice flower. According to the agreement, I cannot enter the remnant, so I will take my leave first. After Du Emyuking spoke, he immediately turned and left. Immediately, there were people who could not endure it any longer. They rushed towards the entrance of the cave. However, just as they reached the entrance, someone suddenly shouted, Duanmu Qing, you cannot leave. If you leave, the profound ice palace will follow. Do you want us to cross the Ink Mountain range? Indeed, if Du Emyuking left, the profound ice palace would definitely follow. Could it be that after they left, they would have to return through the core region of the Ink Forest? Although it was much less dangerous to travel on the ground than in the air, there was still the risk of death for the fatigued group of people who had just left the Ink Forest. Nothing could compare to the safety of riding the Duanmu clan's profound ice palace. There was no need to worry at all. Going to the profound ice palace meant that they would be safe. Everyone reacted and quickly agreed. Right, Du Emyuking, you cannot leave. Wait for us outside. You can leave only after we come out. Du Emyuking raised his eyebrows and looked coldly at the person who spoke. Since when can you order me around? I have already fulfilled my agreement. The fiery sex remnant is underground. Everything now has nothing to do with the Duanmu clan. Ji Chongkong looked at the bottomless hole before looking at Du Emyuking. He said, how about this? Du Emyuking, we do not know if this fiery sex remnant is real or fake. How about you come with us? Given this, it was equivalent to the agreement that Du Emyuking had made before he came to not enter the fiery sex remnant. However, Xiaochen could not blame Duanmu Qing for this. Duanmu Qing did not break her promise. She only used a trick that was not easy to see through. Xiaochen smiled coldly to himself. It looks like it is as Hua Yunfei said. Du Emyuking might have taken advantage of everyone's actions this time. However, this also proved that the fiery sex profound ice palace was real. There was no need to waste time here. The Duanmu clan's profound ice palace was not very attractive to Xiaochen. It would not be a problem for him to walk out of the Ink Mountain range with his own strength. Even if he wasted some time, he would not mind it too much. He could just treat it as experiential training. Suddenly, Xiaochen's gaze fell on Chu Chaoyan. He discovered that Chu Chaoyan had already reached the edge of the hole. Xiaochen no longer hesitated and silently followed. Huchi! While everyone was in a stalemate, Chu Chaoyan and Xiaochen suddenly jumped into the hole. They were the first to enter the fiery sect remnant. Who are these two people? Why are they so fast? Let's go quickly. Otherwise, all the good things will be snatched away by them. Damn it. Don't bother so much. We should hurry up. Fortuitous encounters do not wait for anyone. Chu Chaoyan and Xiaochen's actions immediately broke the stalemate. Many people no longer cared about how to leave. They all rushed to jump in. Only a few of the calmer people did not jump in rashly. Instead, they waited for Du Emyuking's reaction. Not to mention the problem of retreating, Going down without any understanding of the fiery sect remnant was not a wise move. Since Duanmuking was able to discover the fiery sect remnant, he definitely had a better understanding of the fiery sect remnant than the others. Furthermore, he had the profound ice palace to back him up. There was no need to worry about breaking through the Inkly sect remnant. Clearly, following Duanmuking was the wisest decision at this point. Although they were unwilling, they had no other choice. Duanmuking muttered to himself for a while before saying, "It does not matter. I can accompany everyone to verify the authenticity of the fiery sect remnant." Xiao Chen's attitude indirectly hinted that everyone would have a chance to leave with the profound ice palace. Sometimes there was no need to be so direct. It was fine as long as everyone understood. The few of them each harbored their own thoughts. Under Duanmuking's lead, they slowly jumped into the deep hole. Wang. Xiao Chun and Chu Chaoyan landed on the ground at the same time. The two of them exchanged glances and ignored each other, focusing their attention on the scene before them. Chapter 316. In front of the two was a simple bronze door. 2 oil lamps hung on both sides of the door. Purple flames flickered in the oil lamps, slightly illuminating the surroundings. Chu Chaoyan smiled faintly and said, "Interesting, the oil lamps are actually still lit." A huge 3-legged cauldron was carved on the door. There were dragons and phoenixes carved on the cauldron. There were 4 soaring white clouds above the cauldron. This was the first time Xiao Chun had seen white flames, so he felt it was strange. The door was tightly shut, giving off a strong sense of history. An ancient aura assaulted their faces. Dong, dong, dong. The sound of people landing resounded. The other scions and cultivators landed one after another. Then they immediately swarmed to the bronze door. In an instant, Xiao Chun and Chu Chaoyan's figures were buried in the crowd. When they saw the carvings on the bronze door, many people sighed in amazement. It really is the fiery sect's remnant. The 3-legged cauldron is the fiery sect's cornerstone treasure, the Dragon Fear Cauldron. The purple clouds on top of the cauldron should be the lunar true flame. This branch hall has 4 lunar true flames. It looks like its position is not simple. Yes, the fiery sect's main hall has 9 lunar true flames. The other branches are divided into 8 ranks based on the number of flames. There are 4 flames here. At the very least, it should not be the worst. Haha. It looks like Duanmuking did not lie to us. However, how does this door open? Can it be pushed? These people were all outstanding talents of the younger generation. Many of them had ancient books in the libraries of their clans. There was no lack of knowledgeable people. They immediately understood the meaning of the carvings on the bronze door. However, when they saw the tightly shut bronze door, they did not dare to push it open. The fiery sect was best at forging secret treasures. Forging secret treasures required the study of formations. It was hard to guarantee that there were no formations on the bronze door. Trying it rashly would just be seeking death. A young expert from the Dongming province stepped forward and said, "Let me try." This person wore cultivator robes of alternating blue and white. He had thick eyebrows and large eyes. He was 16 meters tall and had a stocky build. The muscles on his chest bulged like small hills. He carried a thick saber on his back. It was obvious that he was an expert in hard body techniques. He's Wen Yanbin. It's said that he's the #1 physical cultivator in Dongming. Even without using Yuan Qi, he can reach 15,000 pounds of force with one palm strike. This bronze door is at most 5,000 kilograms. This person might be able to open it. Furthermore, without using essence, it might not cause the formation to rebound. Everyone recognized Wen Yanbin and hurriedly invited him forward. At this time, someone was opening the door, so everyone was naturally happy. Wen Yanbin stretched out his right hand and gently placed it on the door on the left. He slightly rubbed it, then switched to the door on the right and rubbed it. Seeing that nothing out of the ordinary had happened, Zhang Xian calmed down slightly. He took a deep breath and quickly retracted his right hand. Then he slammed his palm against the bronze door. Bang! The entire underground space began to shake, but the bronze gate did not move at all. There was no movement at all. Again. When Yanbin roared, and the muscles on his right arm doubled in size. He continuously smashed at the bronze gate. Bang, bang, bang. The continuous loud sounds reverberated throughout the underground space. The huge force was transmitted to the ground, causing the surroundings to shake. Rocks kept falling from above. However, there was still no reaction from the bronze gate. There was no movement at all. Not even a small opening appeared. How can it be like this? There is no movement at all. Could it be that there is no way to open this bronze gate? The crowd exclaimed in astonishment. The continuous attacks caused Wen Yanbin's complexion to turn somewhat pale. This was how physical attacks worked. At least 30% of the force that struck the opponent would be reflected back to him. Each of Zhang Xian's palm strikes contained no less than 5,000 kilograms of force. When the rebound force accumulated, it was already a threat to Zhang Xian's meridians and internal organs. Seeing that there was still no movement, Wen Yanbin made up his mind. A ruthless look flashed in his eyes. Suddenly, Xiao Chen's right palm became larger. He clenched his fist and punched out ferociously. When Wen Yanbin punched out, even the air exploded. This punch contained his full strength. It contained 10,000 kilograms of force. Bang! There was a loud explosion, and the huge force rebounded. The internal injuries that Wen Yanbin had been suppressing erupted. He vomited a mouthful of blood and flew back. The entire space shook for a long time before it slowly stopped. However, there was still no reaction from the bronze gate. It did not even open a crack. Seeing Wen Yanbin sitting on the ground with a pale complexion and circulating his qi, everyone could not help but feel anxious. Someone said, "Since we cannot open this door with brute force, there should be some sort of mechanism. Open it." "I don't think so. Perhaps his strength has not reached a certain level. Perhaps he can use his essence to test it out. Duan Muqing is here. Let her take a look." As the crowd discussed intensely, Duan Muqing, Ji Chongkong, and the others slowly walked over from the back of the crowd. At this moment, no one said anything about an agreement. The most important thing was to open the gate. Duan Muqing's appearance gave everyone hope. Everyone gave way, opening a path for Duan Muqing to walk to the front. When Duan Muqing saw everyone's eager expressions, there was no change in his expression. It was just like before, cold and beautiful, without a trace of the mundane world. Duan Muqing slowly walked forward and arrived before the bronze gate. Then he inserted his hands into the two pillars on the left and right of the Dragon Phoenix cauldron. His fingers dug in deeply. The Dragon Phoenix cauldron had 3 pillars, one on the left and one on the right. The third pillar would only merge when the 2 doors were joined together. What's going on? When the crowd saw this, they were confused. The bronze gate weighed 5,000 kilograms. How could it be inserted so easily? When the crowd looked carefully, they discovered that Duan Muqing had not used brute force to insert his fingers. Instead, it was the Dragon Phoenix cauldron's pillars. There were originally 5 finger holes. However, because of the light and the carvings, it created an illusion. It was easy to overlook them. Creak! Duan Muqing gently pulled with both hands. The bronze gate that had troubled the crowd for a long time, the one that Wen Yanbin could not push open even with his 10,000 kilograms of force, easily opened. So this door is supposed to be pulled, not pushed. I've had this feeling for a long time, someone said after realizing it. Wen Yanbin, who was on the ground, had already recovered. He was so angry that he nearly vomited blood again. When he heard this, he thought about his earlier actions. They were extremely foolish. A majestic hall appeared in front of everyone's vision. Wind blew under their feet and they all entered. There was a corridor in the center of the hall. There were many stone pillars at the side. An armored warrior stood in the middle of each pillar, holding a sword in his hand. When Xiaochen looked around, this place did not look like it had been damaged at all. It was like thousands of years had not affected this place at all. Xiaochen touched the stone pillar. The stone pillar was smooth, without a speck of dust. It was like someone cleaned it regularly. At the end of the corridor was a scarlet throne. A golden armored warrior sat on it. 2 silver armored warriors stood on both sides of the throne. They wore silver battle armor and had silver sheathed swords at their waists. Xiaochen looked at the golden armored warrior. The golden-armored warrior was clad in golden battle armor and wore a golden mask. Its eyes were empty. However, its gaze gave off an incomparably deep feeling. It was clearly an inanimate object. It seemed somewhat contradictory. After Xiaochen probed it, he discovered that it was really an inanimate object. It was filled with all sorts of metal parts. So he withdrew his gaze. This should be the main hall of the Firely Sect's branch hall. I should go to their refining room and the library to take a look. The good things should be there. Xiaochen thought to himself. He looked around the hall, searching for other paths. The 50 or 60 people all had excited expressions on their faces as they rummaged around, hoping to find something useful. It would be even better if it was a secret treasure. These armored warriors might be combat puppets unique to the Firely Sect. I wonder if they can still be used. A few years ago, the Linlang Pavilion in the imperial capital auctioned one and sold it for a sky-high price, someone from the royal court said. When they heard this person say that, the others quickly stopped what they were doing and rushed to the armored warriors in the hall. Some went to retrieve their swords. Some wanted to remove their helmets to take a look. Pussy-eye. Pussy-eye. Just as the crowd was inspecting the armored warriors, all of them moved. The surrounding people were startled and quickly scattered. Cassier. All the armored warriors drew their swords at the same time. Sword lights flashed as they quickly attacked the surrounding people. They can still be used. We are going to be rich this time. These armored warriors are so complete. They can definitely be sold for a sky-high price. The cultivator from the royal court who spoke earlier said excitedly. When the crowd heard him say this, their fighting spirit immediately rose. They charged at the 20-odd armored warriors. The armored warriors were at the level of an inferior grade martial saint. They could send out dim sword chi. However, because they were wearing armor, they did not have any life force. They were impervious to weapons and could not feel pain. Despite having the advantage in numbers, the crowd was unable to subdue these armored warriors in a short period of time. Because Xiaochen was standing further away, he did not receive any attacks from the armored warriors. Furthermore, there were very few armored warriors. Every armored warrior was surrounded by 3 or 4 cultivators. The scene was somewhat chaotic. Xiaochen could not be bothered to join in on the excitement. He returned his gaze to the golden armored warrior on the scarlet throne. The 10 people fighting with the Scarlet Flame Chief and Duanmiking had not made a move yet. Their gazes were also on the 3 combat puppets on the scarlet throne. There was no reason for it. The combat prowess of the armored warriors was not high. The 10 of them did not care about them. Since they had come to a treasure trove, their standards were naturally much higher. Wuxia. Aside from Xiaochen, the 11 of them made a move at the same time. They pushed off the ground and quickly flew towards the scarlet throne. All sorts of lights were released. It was very beautiful. Wang. When the 2 silver-armored warriors beside the throne felt the auras of the 10, their empty eyes lit up with a scarlet light. They suddenly came to life. Chapter 317. 2 dense silver sword chi tore through the air and headed for the 3 people in front. The silver sword chi was as resplendent as a pillar. What a dense sword chi! It is equivalent to the strength of a peak martial saint. Xiaochen said in astonishment as he looked at the 2 sword chi. Although Xiaochen wanted those 3 combat puppets that were clearly different from the others, there was not enough meat to go around. If he fought over them, he would exhaust a lot of his strength. The Firely Sect remnant would definitely have more than this. It was not time for him to go all out yet. Pooh. Just as Xiaochen was thinking, a cold light flew at him. Xiaochen pushed off the ground and instantly retreated tens of meters. Xiaochen looked to the side and saw an iron-armored warrior. After it injured a cultivator, it broke out of the encirclement and charged at Xiaochen. Xiaochen had a calm expression as he smiled gently. Good timing. I can take a look at what these combat puppets are. The iron-armored warrior's heavy body leaped quickly on the ground. With every step it took, the armor on its body clashed with each other, giving off a melodious sound. Drawing the saber, Xiaochen drew the lunar shadow saber with a cassier sound and swung it. It was like a roaring bolt of lightning. Its speed and strength were at their peak. With a xiao sound, it knocked away the sword in the iron-armored warrior's hand. It is still too weak. This iron-armored warrior does not have much value. Xiaochen shook his head slightly and sheathed the lunar shadow saber. Xiaochen took a step forward and tilted his head slightly, easily dodging the iron-armored warrior's attack. He clenched his fist and punched the iron-armored warrior. Boom, boom, boom. The iron-armored warrior took 3 steps back. The heavy force caused the armor on its body to tremble. There was a loud cracking sound. Now, a casual punch from me can achieve 10,000 kilograms of force. For it to be able to receive a punch from me without shattering its bones, its defense is pretty good. Xiaochen evaluated in his heart. He casually moved back and dodged the iron-armored warrior's attack again. Since the walls of the main hall were already behind him, Xiaochen no longer intended to retreat. He stood where he was and held the lunar shadow saber in his left hand. He opened his right hand and used his palm as a saber, easily blocking the iron-armored warrior's attack. Its speed was not good either. It barely reached Mach 2. However, the way it attacked was very orderly, like it contained the shadow of several fist techniques. The iron-armored warrior's ancestors of the Firely sect were really geniuses. Xiaochen easily exchanged moves with the iron-armored warrior with one. After exchanging a few moves, it Xiaochun it. His speed was comparable to a medial grade martial saint's. His strength was barely at inferior grade martial saints. His defense was startling. His overall combat prowess was at the peak of medial grade martial saint. However, the iron-armored warrior's energy source would eventually run out. It would not be able to fight indefinitely. At that time, it would become a pile of scrap metal. The 3 people surrounding the iron-armored warrior were completely dumbfounded. Earlier, the 3 of them had used their full power, and could only barely suppress this iron-armored warrior. This was because the iron-armored warrior's defense was too strong. However, in Xiaochen's hands, he did not even need to move his hand to easily toy with the iron-armored warrior. Bang! Xiaochen shouted. He could not be bothered to continue playing with it. He punched with 60% of his strength, instantly reaching 25,000 kilograms of force. The iron-armored warrior was knocked to the ground. It struggled for a while before it stopped moving. After waiting for a while, Xiaochen bent down and flipped the iron-armored warrior over. He discovered a tightly shut metal door on the back of the battle armor. The metal door was tightly shut. There was no way to open it. Xiaochen found a small protruding metal plate at the side, and pressed it without hesitation. Cassier. The 2 small metal doors immediately opened, revealing indentations filled with inferior-grade spirit stones. There were a total of 20 inferior-grade spirit stones in them. However, the spirit stones were currently dim, no different from ordinary stones. It was clear that their spiritual energy had been exhausted. So that's how it is, Xiaochen thought to himself. Using spirit stones as a source of energy, it was more or less what he expected. If he embedded a medial-grade spirit stone into it, its might increase. When the 3 people saw Xiaochen's actions, they suddenly reacted. They had discovered this combat puppet first. In the end, Xiaochen treated it as his own. You are seeking death. You actually dare to snatch my things? How reckless. One of them snorted coldly. Then he swung his saber at Xiaochen. The other 2 were not slow. They attacked almost at the same time. 3 saber lights and sword images flew at Xiaochen with ferocious auras. Xiaochen raised his head slightly. There were no fluctuations in his calm eyes. He appeared indifferent, clearly dispirited. These 3 people were not enough for him. Glittering Wuxia. Xiaochen drew the lunar shadow saber at lightning speed. He brandished the saber 3 times in the air, and 3 strands of extremely dense purple saber chi comparable to that of a martial king appeared. In an instant, the saber and sword moves of the 3 people shattered. The weapons in their hands could not withstand the pressure and shattered. Bang! 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 The momentum of the saber chi did not decrease. It struck the protective essence of the 3 people, and left horrifying wounds on their chests. Blood immediately spurted out. The intense shockwave blew the 3 people far away. They even tumbled miserably a few times. This was the result of Xiaochen showing mercy. If the saber chi contained the state of thunder, these 3 strands of saber chi would have easily chopped them in half. If it were a martial saint who had not comprehended a state, even a peak superior grade martial saint, Xiaochen would be able to kill them easily. In the martial saint realm, he was only a step away from being unrivaled. Quick, leave. We cannot offend this person. The 3 people on the ground did not care about their wounds. They looked at Xiaochen with horror in their eyes and quickly left the place. Seeing that they had already left, Xiaochen could not be bothered to chase after them. He focused his gaze on the inferior grade spirit stones once again, revealing a curious gaze. Take them out and see what exactly is inside, Xiaochen said softly. Then he tossed out the spirit stones one by one. Finally, he saw a protruding needle at the bottom of the groove. After hesitating for a while, Xiaochen touched the needle with his index finger. He felt a slight pain, and the needle immediately pricked his index finger. Blood flowed from his finger, and countless pieces of information quickly appeared in Xiaochen's mind. The information was like the sea, giving Xiaochen a splitting headache. However, this did not last for long. After 3 breaths, the headache immediately disappeared. After he sorted through the information, Xiaochen slowly accepted it. Flowing Cloud Sword Technique, Wuxia Fist Technique, Everlasting Flowing Water. A general outline of martial techniques appeared in his mind. Xiaochen reacted. These were all the martial techniques of the iron-armored warriors. There were fist techniques, leg techniques, movement techniques, sword techniques, saber techniques, and spear techniques. Finally, all this information disappeared. Xiaochen felt an extremely weak will coming at him. However, his spiritual sense immediately swallowed it up. This should be the will left behind by the previous master of the iron-armored warrior. It has been too long. It is already insignificant. Next, it should be time for me to infuse my will into it. Xiaochen controlled his will and extended it down his arm, entering the interior of the iron-armored warrior. Then he imprinted his will on it. When he released his finger, Xiaochen immediately felt like he had a clone. However, this clone could not move yet. Xiaochen took out an inferior grade spirit stone from the universe ring and placed it in. Then he closed the small metal door behind the iron-armored warrior. With a thought, the iron-armored warrior stood up. Xiaochen controlled the iron-armored warrior. He felt that it was very convenient and simple. There were 2 ways to control it. One was to control it actively. It was as easy as moving his own arm. The other was to control it autonomously. He could lock onto an enemy and let the iron-armored warrior attack on its own. Xiaochen tried to lock onto a stone pillar for it to immediately attack. After that, there was no need for Xiaochen to worry. Xiaochen smiled gently and said indifferently, "The people of the Firely sect are truly geniuses. To think that they could do something like this. Not only did they inherit the method of creating secret treasures from the ancient times, they even created a secret treasure, like the combat puppet." In the end, due to the exhaustion of spiritual energy, aside from a few that were completely destroyed, the rest of the iron-armored warriors were controlled by someone else. It looked like the issue of spiritual energy was the combat puppet's greatest weakness. If it did not have this weakness, the combat puppet would be nearly perfect. Xiaochen shifted his gaze upwards. The 2 silver combat puppets were still as tyrannical and ferocious as before. They brandished their swords and sharp sword chi spread out continuously. Even the air was sliced in half. The 10 of them fought an intense battle. All sorts of martial techniques and sword chi struck the other party. However, to the combat puppets that did not feel pain, they could not feel it at all. A strange scene occurred on the battlefield. The silver-armored warrior, who was only a peak superior grade martial saint, suppressed 10 peak superior grade martial saints with deep cultivations. Of course, this was also because the 10 of them knew that they could defeat the other party by exhausting the other party's essence. All they had to do was drag out some time. There was no need to waste a huge battle. Clearly, the true enemy was not the silver-armored warrior. Instead, it was the teammates that were fighting the silver-armored warrior. They are far from exhausted of spiritual energy. It looks like these silver combat puppets use medial-grade spirit stones, Xiaochen thought to himself. If the silver-armored warrior could revive, then the golden-armored warrior on the throne should be able to revive as well. If the silver one was a peak martial saint, then the golden armored warrior would be a martial king. A completely loyal martial king helper that did not feel pain, did not know fatigue, and did not know what that meant. Everyone here knew what that meant. That meant that the golden armored warrior would be able to double their strength. In this fiery sect remnant, they would have the best trump card in the upcoming fight for the secret treasure. The reason why these 10 people had not used their trump cards to deal with the 2 silver-armored warriors was probably because of the golden-armored warrior on the throne. The outstanding talents that subdued the iron-armored warriors felt their confidence swell. They felt that they could deal with the golden-armored warrior with their strength. Compared to the 10 demonic geniuses, they might be weaker. However, with the iron-armored warriors, they might have a chance if they took advantage of the crisis. They all stared at the golden-armored warrior on the scarlet throne, waiting for the golden-armored warrior to wake up and take action. Chapter 318. Xiao Chen's gaze was focused on the golden-armored warrior. Like everyone else, Xiao Chen was very interested in this golden-armored warrior. However, Xiao Chen thought even further. Even if he obtained the golden-armored warrior, how to make it recognize him as its master was a problem. An iron-armored warrior required 3 breaths of time to recognize a master. The golden-armored warrior would definitely take longer. During this time, how to ensure that others would not make a move on him was the key. I have to think of a way to retreat in advance. Xiao Chen looked at the 2 intersections behind the throne. He thought quickly and silently turned around. Xiao Chen hid himself in the shadows. While everyone's attention was focused on the battle between the silver-armored warrior and the scarlet throne, he quickly made his way to the intersection. Xiao Chen avoided everyone's gazes and walked quickly to the intersection. 10 minutes later, he returned to the main hall without a sound. He already had a plan in mind. The light of the 2 silver-armored warriors had already dimmed. It looked like they would not be able to last much longer. Once the silver-armored warrior fell, the golden-armored warrior would probably wake up. At that time, the true battle would begin. An inconspicuous patch of white appeared at the end of Duan Yuking's black hair. Clearly, this was the prelude to circulating the profound ice incantation. A red figure was faintly discernible behind Hua Yunfei. The sword in his hand was spitting out a strange red sword light. Countless stars flickered in Ji Changkong's eyes. A resplendent river of stars surrounded him, slowly giving off a gentle light. Starlight shot out in all directions. Only one of his fate stars was dim and incomparably silent. The Guyi Marquis wore golden battle armor, and held the sky-splitting sword in his hand. He had a grave and stern expression, and there was a righteous qi gathering on his forehead. Xiao Chen shifted his gaze to Chu Chaoyan. Chu Chaoyan appeared very carefree. His expression was as calm as before. However, Xiao Chen could feel that the holy weapon on his back was gathering a boundless aura. It was even trembling slightly. He seemed extremely excited, waiting for the moment he unsheathed it to shock everyone. The other cultivators below also rubbed their palms in anticipation. They controlled the iron-armored warriors to draw their weapons and unleash their auras without holding back. For a time, undercurrents surged in the main hall while various imposing auras surged without end. Yet it seemed to be extremely quiet. This was the calm before the storm. Other than the sound of the sword key produced by the silver-armored warrior, even the heavy breathing of the crowd could be heard. Everyone's attention was raised to the extreme as they stared at the golden-armored warrior sitting on the throne. Their eyes were filled with a crazed desire. The 2 silver-armored warriors finally ran out of spiritual energy and fell to the ground with a bang. The instant the golden-armored warrior fell, 2 strands of golden light suddenly appeared in the empty eyes of the golden-armored warrior. He stood up from his throne. Clang clang. The golden battle armor on Xiao Chen's body clashed with each other, giving off clanging sounds that reverberated in the main hall. The golden-armored warrior drew the golden sword at his waist. Instantly, an aura equal to that of a peak inferior grade martial king spread out from his body. However, just at this moment, the killing moves that the 10 of them had prepared for a long time were finally unleashed without holding back. Astral swordplay gathering stars. Ji Changkong shouted, and the sword in his hand released an incomparably dazzling light. The star that belonged to him immediately lit up with a resplendent light within the river of stars that was overflowing with light. Blood soul possession, blood killing the world. Hua Yunfei roared ferociously, and the indistinct scarlet figure behind him finally solidified and merged into his body. His eyes immediately turned scarlet, and his lips curled up in a sinister smile. His aura rose infinitely, and the scarlet sword in his hand gave off a bright red light. It seemed like it could engulf the world. Profound icebreak, absolute zero. Du Emyiking's black hair suddenly turned snow-white. His eyes lost all worldly fire. He looked like an emotionless fairy from the heavens. Countless snowflakes drifted down from the sky, and the surrounding temperature plummeted. The cold penetrated deep into one's bones. The Guyi Marquis Ing Xiao did not say anything unnecessary. He swung the holy weapon in his hand, and a vague fluctuation appeared in the natural laws. He drew on the power of the heavenly Tao and attacked the golden-armored warrior. The 10 demonic geniuses made their moves one after another. Lights of various colors bloomed and shockwaves spread through the air. Many of the cultivators preparing to join in the fun were knocked back by the shockwaves. Such a horrifying attack had been prepared for a long time. Even a regular medial-grade martial king would not have any other ending. They would die on the spot. They would not even have the chance to dodge. Xiao Chen's eyes were like lightning. Just as he was about to use the lightning evasion, he suddenly stopped and stared at the scarlet throne. The instant the golden-armored warrior stood up, the scarlet throne seemed to rise by 2 centimeters for no reason. Furthermore, Xiao Chen's spiritual sense felt a strong mental energy on it, disappearing in a flash. What's going on? Did I see wrong? Xiao Chen thought suspiciously. Just as Xiao Chen was feeling suspicious, the attacks of the 10 peak martial saints struck the golden-armored warrior at the same time. There was a loud sound and a horrifying shockwave exploded above the throne. Boom. The 12 stone pillars in the main hall shattered. The cultivators below could not dodge in time. The shockwave struck them, causing them to vomit blood and fall to the ground. The entire main hall started to shake violently. Rocks fell from the ceiling like raindrops, crashing down incessantly. The main hall looked like it was going to collapse soon. Dust filled the air and rocks fell like rain. The people on the ground fled in all directions. The place was extremely chaotic. Amid the chaos, a golden light suddenly lit up as the dust filled the air. It was as dazzling as the sun, dazzling everyone's eyes. It was Chu Chaoyan, who had been silent for a long time, making his move. Golden ripples appeared in the air, as if the entire world was being torn apart. In an instant, Chu Chaoyan suppressed the peak attacks of the 9 cultivators. The 9 cultivators were all knocked back. This was Chu Chaoyan's strength. The moment he drew his holy weapon, a sword light appeared and suppressed everyone. Although Chu Chaoyan had the advantage of striking after the enemy attacked, this strength could not be erased, no matter what. Bang! Chu Chaoyan held the golden-armored warrior, whose energy had been drained by everyone, in his embrace. Then he smashed a large hole in the wall behind the throne. Then he jumped in without hesitation. This palm added a fire to the shaking hall, and it began to collapse with a loud rumble. Let's go quickly. The hall is going to collapse. If we do not leave now, we will die. When the other cultivators saw that the situation was bad, they executed their trump cards to flee the main hall. The 9 cultivators that Chu Chaoyan knocked back did not hesitate. They revealed furious expressions as they followed Chu Chaoyan and jumped into the large hole in the wall. Boom, boom, boom. The majestic and dignified hall completely collapsed. The huge rocks from the ceiling fell with a loud rumble, shaking the ground. It was like the sky was collapsing. After a long time, the hall, which was rumbling non-stop, finally quieted down. The hall, which was originally in perfect condition, was now in ruins. The hall was extremely dilapidated. There were broken fences and broken walls everywhere. Dust covered the ground, and smoke billowed. Kasi. On a pile of stone pillars and rocks, pieces of broken bricks slid down rapidly. A badly damaged warrior in iron armor stood up with a loud bang, and the rubble and rocks completely slid down. Xiao Chen, who was lying on the ground, patted the dust off his body and stood out from the middle, completely unharmed. Xiaochen looked at the badly damaged iron-armored warrior and smiled faintly. He said, "The defense of the iron-armored warrior is indeed astonishing. It helped me block the endless rocks from above. Unfortunately, it looks like it is about to be scrapped." Xiaochen shook his head slightly and looked at the now empty ruins. Then he shifted his gaze to the dust-covered scarlet throne. Then he walked over with a determined gaze. Xie, Xie. Stepping on the rubble and tiles on the ground, Xiaochen arrived at the scarlet throne step by step. However, he was not in a rush to check on the situation on the throne. Xiaochen looked around. After he verified that there was no one around, he returned to the side of the throne. Just as he was about to check on it, he noticed the battle armor of the silver-armored warrior in a corner of the rubble. Xiaochen sent out a few palm winds and blew away the rubble on the ground, revealing 2 silver combat puppets. Aside from the dust on the surface of the battle armor, it was surprisingly undamaged. It looked like the defense of this silver battle armor rivaled that of an inferior grade martial king. Compared to the iron-armored warrior, it was much stronger. Xiaochen gently waved his sleeves and immediately swept away all the dust on the silver-armored warrior. Xiaochen squatted down and opened the small door on the back of the silver-armored warrior. As he had expected, the silver-armored warrior had indeed used medial-grade spirit stones. There were 20 of them, no more no less. Xiaochen took out the discarded medial-grade spirit stones from the grooves and erased the will of the predecessors. Then he started to recognize them as his own. This recognition took 5 minutes before Xiaochen's will was completely imprinted on them. After a while, the 2 silver-armored warriors were recognized by Xiaochen as their masters. After he filled them with medial-grade spirit stones, the silver-armored warriors immediately recovered their vitality. When Xiaochen swung his sword, a sharp sword chi rampaged through the rubble. Everywhere it passed, the broken walls turned into rubble. Xiaochen nodded in satisfaction. With the addition of the 2 silver-armored warriors and the broken iron-armored warrior, he should be able to deal with Chu Chaoyun's golden-armored warrior. Recollecting his thoughts, Xiaochen shifted his gaze back to the scarlet throne. He controlled the 3 combat puppets to move away the large rocks on the throne. After that, Xiaochen waved his sleeves and blew away all the dust. The scarlet throne finally appeared in his vision. The entire throne was made of a mysterious scarlet material. When Xiaochen touched the patterns on it, he found it very strange. This was the material used to polish the throne. It was not made of metal, spirit wood, or even rock. It was heavy and cool to the touch. Xiaochen thought of the strong mental energy he felt earlier. He placed one hand on the armrest of the throne and slowly infused his spiritual sense into the throne. With a thought, his divine senses immediately turned into a golden deity and flew toward the blood river in the deepest part of the throne. He had to find that will and destroy it. Otherwise, with such a passive resistance, it would only be a matter of time before he succumbed. The deity flew further and further away in the consciousness space. The boundless sea of blood seemed endless. However, Xiaochen did not feel discouraged. There would always be an end to the boundless sea of blood. The consciousness space was no exception. Unless the other party was a true ancient emperor, they might not be able to condense an eternal sea of blood. After an unknown amount of time, the deity controlled by Xiaochen finally arrived at the end of the sea of blood. There was a scarlet abyss there, and a huge scarlet head connected to the sea of blood. It looked at the deity from afar. The scarlet head roared angrily and opened its huge mouth, swallowing the golden deity in an instant. The golden deity closed its eyes and allowed the boundless blood to stick to its body. After a while, it suddenly opened its eyes, and a dazzling golden light pierced through the scarlet head. The scarlet head howled in pain. It gave up on swallowing the deity and retreated in horror. Indeed, it is as I expected. This evil will of massacre is very weak. I was just too rash. I did not have time to condense my spiritual sense and rashly sent it in. Hence, I was caught off guard. This is a lesson. In the future, whenever I face something unknown, I have to be very cautious. The scarlet light in Xiao Chen's eyes faded a little. They were no longer as horrifying as before, and they slowly became clear. The scarlet head retreated to the sky above the abyss and waved its hand. A huge scarlet hand appeared above the sea of blood, and smashed at the golden deity. Kill! The golden deity shouted angrily, and a sword shining with golden light appeared in its hand. It swung the sword, and the surging golden light chopped the scarlet hand into pieces. The golden deity pointed the sword at the sky, and a pillar of light rushed into the sky. Instantly, a bright light scattered down. The light turned into a golden liquid that dripped onto the sea of blood like rain. As more and more of the golden liquid merged into the sea of blood, the sea of blood started to boil and slowly turned into a golden sea. Ah, 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 ah. The scarlet head looked like it was being boiled as it cried out in pain. When the sea of blood turned completely golden, its body that was connected to the sea of blood was completely chopped off, leaving only a lonely head. Back in reality, the scarlet light in Xiao Chen's eyes vanished. His sinister expression vanished and he calmed down. That heart-wrenching pain no longer existed. All that was left was Gu Linlin's head. In this spiritual world, it could be said that there was no way out and there was no way out. It tried several times to burrow into the sea of consciousness. In the end, when it touched the golden sea of blood, it cried out in pain. Furthermore, its head shrank. Xiao Chen controlled the golden deity to send out strands of sword light. The scarlet head scurried around in the air, dodging the horrifying golden light. In the end, it is just a paper tiger, Xiao Chen thought to himself. The golden deity took advantage of this opportunity. Its left hand grew infinitely large, and it grabbed the head. Don't kill me. I can recognize you as my master and establish a blood contract. I will never betray you. Also, I will tell you the secret of this massacre throne in full detail. After the scarlet head was grabbed, it begged non-stop. Evil demon, what use do I have for you? Xiao Chen snorted coldly and crushed the scarlet head. This evil creature was crafty and capricious. When it grew stronger, it might immediately turn around and bite Xiao Chen. It could not be left alive. As for the secret of the scarlet throne, Xiao Chen could slowly dig it out. This was a matter of life and death. It was always better to be cautious. The instant the scarlet head was completely destroyed, the scarlet throne under Xiao Chen's hand turned into a red beam of light, and quickly entered every part of Xiao Chen's body. After the beam of light entered Xiao Chen's body, the wounds caused by the exploding blood vessels all over his body healed at a visible rate. After a while, Xiao Chen had completely recovered. All the wounds had vanished, and his skin glowed with a white glow. It was even fairer and more tender than an ordinary woman's. Boom! The red light that flowed through every part of Xiao Chen's body gathered at his forehead, forming a red throne marked the size of a pinky finger. Xiao Chen withdrew his spiritual sense and looked at everything that happened to his body. He revealed a doubtful expression in his eyes. Xiao Chen placed his left hand before his eyes and looked carefully. He saw that the skin was as white as frost, crystalline and translucent. This pair of hands was so beautiful that it was scary. Not only did the surface change greatly, but Xiao Chen also felt a huge force when he clenched his fist. His physical body was even stronger than before. When Xiao Chen saw the badly damaged iron-armored warrior at the side, he slowly walked over and casually punched the iron-armored warrior's chest. The huge force flowed through Xiao Chen's slender right arm and into his 5 fingers. There was a loud boom, and the badly damaged iron-armored warrior immediately shattered into pieces. The various metal fragments of the armor scattered all over the ground. However, they were so broken that they could not be broken anymore. There was no way to repair them anymore. Xiao Chen revealed an expression of pleasant surprise. He said with some uncertainty, after the dragon and tiger body sculpting art reached the threshold of the 4th layer, dragon tendon tiger bone, the strength of my next strike reached 10,000 kilograms of force. A full power strike can only achieve 15,000 kilograms of force. However, that casual strike clearly achieved 15,000 kilograms of force. Could it be that after this scarlet throne entered my body, it strengthened my physical body? Suddenly Xiao Chen had a guess. With the increase in strength, Would a few more acupoints on his right arm open? Xiaochen checked the acupoints on his right arm. Indeed, it was as he expected. The original one had increased to 14. He was just short of 2 more before he could open all 16 acupoints on his right arm. It looks like it will not be long before the true blue dragon chi appears, Xiaochen thought excitedly. After checking to see if there were any other changes, Xiaochen took out a small knife and gently sliced his jade-like skin. Instantly, a small wound appeared and blood flowed out. However, not long after, scars appeared on the wound. Then they quickly disappeared. His skin became as good as before. There was no way to tell that he had been injured. Unexpectedly, his body possessed the ability to heal naturally. His strength also became more reserved. The exaggerated muscles that he had trained in the past had all shrunk back. Xiaochen returned to the appearance of an ordinary person. However, the force he used had doubled. What exactly is the origin of this scarlet throne? Xiaochen put away the small knife, his eyes filled with doubt. Closing his eyes, Xiaochen carefully sensed the position of the scarlet throne. A scarlet throne floated in the sea of consciousness on his forehead. A supreme might spread throughout the entire sea of consciousness. The forehead was the source of all cultivators' spiritual world. It was known as the sea of consciousness. However, only people with extremely strong mental energy could truly open their own sea of consciousness. According to the cultivation realms of the Tianwu continent, only martial monarchs could truly open their own sea of consciousness. Ordinary people would never have the chance to open their sea of consciousness in their lifetime. Hence, they would not care about this problem. After opening the sea of consciousness, cultivators could truly cultivate their mental energy. Before this, cultivators only had perception. They did not have true mental energy. In the past, because of the Purple Thunder divine incantation, Xiaochen could cultivate mental energy from the start. His mental energy was much stronger than a regular cultivator's. It could even be said that they were on a completely different level. However, there was still a long way to go before he could open his sea of consciousness. At the very least, his cultivation realm was not high enough. Unexpectedly, he managed to open his sea of consciousness because of the Scarlet Throne. Chapter 320. Xiaochen had not seriously studied how to use mental energy in combat. He did not have any introductory methods, so he did not care much about it. He just used his spiritual sense to probe. Xiaochen did not see any benefits from opening his sea of consciousness in advance, so he did not need to think about it. He summoned out the throne first. With a thought, the scarlet throne mark on Xiaochen's forehead flashed with a red light. The throne in his sea of consciousness immediately flew out. The scarlet throne floated in the air. Xiaochen discovered that he was already sitting on it. He placed his hands on the armrests and leaned against the back of the throne. Below the throne was a layer of churning blood-colored clouds. The reason the throne was able to float seemed to be because of this layer of blood-colored clouds. Xiaochen felt that this scarlet throne was like his flesh and blood. That sense of intimacy was much stronger than that of the combat puppets. The two could not be compared at all. When Xiaochen sat on the scarlet throne, an uncontrollable king's might spread out. This king's might was released unintentionally. Even Xiaochen did not feel it. There was only a small trace of king's might, but the aura and might it contained made one's heart tremble. This king's might was comparable to a regular king's might. If an ordinary person appeared here, they would definitely not be able to withstand the pressure and fall to their knees. Fly. Xiaochen looked ahead and locked onto a direction. The scarlet clouds drove the throne in that direction at lightning speed. In the blink of an eye, it moved more than 100 meters. Xiaochen patted the armrest gently and muttered, "Just a casual move and I reached the speed of sound. Furthermore, it seems like I have not had enough yet. It looks like I can reach 5 times the speed of sound if I fly at full speed. In the future, I will have another option for escaping and traveling." This was the first time Xiaochen experienced the flying function of the Scarlet Throne. He felt somewhat excited. He flew for a long time above the ruins before stopping. Xiaochen tore through the scarlet clouds and landed firmly on the ground. The scarlet mark on his forehead flashed with a red light. and the scarlet throne immediately turned into a beam of light and returned to his sea of consciousness. The scarlet throne really has many secrets. I will slowly dig them out in the future, Xiaochen said softly as he touched the mark on his forehead. Suddenly, Xiaochen thought of something. He took out a bronze mirror from the universe ring and looked at his face. His appearance had not changed much, just that his skin was much fairer than before. Fortunately, the effects of the shape-shifting spell were still present. Otherwise, he would have been exposed and could only leave. Just as Xiaochen was about to put down the bronze mirror, he glanced at the scarlet throne mark on his forehead. It looked like a drop of blood was imprinted on it. Xiaochen's originally delicate face now had a strange demonic air to it. With one look, it would leave a deep impression. No, this mark is too eye-catching. If I do things here, I will be too high-profile. Xiaochen put down the bronze mirror and took out a blue strip of cloth to cover his forehead, covering the mark. After the blue strip of cloth covered the mark, Xiaochen's delicate face lost its demonic air and gained a refreshing look. It no longer looked eye-catching, making him look very ordinary. However, if one looked at it carefully, they would feel a sense of comfort. It was very pleasing to look at. After Xiaochen prepared everything, he led the two silver-armored warriors away. Just as he was about to leave, he suddenly discovered an empty hole below the scarlet throne. Unexpectedly, it is an intact secret tunnel. Xiaochen looked at the hole and muttered, "The secret tunnel below the throne must be a whole new world. Let's go down and take a look." After Xiaochen spoke, he ordered the two silver-armored warriors to jump down. Then he jumped down as well. This way, if there was any danger, the silver-armored warriors would be able to block it for a while. About 10 minutes after Xiaochen left, a tall and stout cultivator quickly arrived at the rubble. He had an excited expression on his face as he searched the ground for something. Occasionally he punched, sweeping away the dust on the ground. This person was the strongest person in the Dongming province with a strong physical body, Wen Yanbin. After searching for a long time, Wen Yanbin's expression finally turned anxious. He cursed, "Damn it. I reacted very quickly already. Why did I not go and look for other secret treasures? Why did I not find the two silver-armored warriors?" Suddenly, when Yanbin glanced around and saw that the place where the throne had been was empty, he quickly rushed over. When Yanbin saw the hole below the throne, his expression became uncertain. After a while he said sullenly, "This person must have obtained two silver-armored warriors. If I chase after him, I might not be able to defeat him. Never mind, I'll go and take a look first. I can use 10,000 kilograms of force with my full power. If I do not use my essence, I might be able to sneak attack him." Thinking of this, when Yanbin no longer hesitated. With a resolute expression, he jumped down from the hole. Not long after, a few more groups of people arrived. Their goal was the same as Wen Yanbin's. Naturally, they did not find the silver-armored warriors. Instead, they discovered a secret passage. These groups of people did not hesitate and jumped down one after another. The secret passage under the throne was definitely not an ordinary entrance. It was not just Xiaochen who could think of it. The others could as well. Bang! Bang! Two heavy sounds rang out as the silver-armored warriors landed on the ground. Dang! 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 The instant the silver-armored warriors landed, strands of sword chi flew over and struck the silver-armored warriors. Xiaochen quickly executed the gravity spell and slowed down his descent. Then he looked down and saw a wide passageway. On both sides of the wall, there would be an oil lamp every few meters, illuminating the entire floor. The passageway was densely packed with iron-armored warriors. With a rough count, there were dozens of them. Fortunately, there were two silver-armored warriors opening the way first. Otherwise, if Xiaochen had jumped down and suffered from so many attacks, he would not have had it easy. The two silver-armored warriors did their best to block the many iron-armored warriors. The sharp sword chi rampaged through the group of iron-armored warriors, giving off metallic sounds. The iron-armored warriors' sword chi shattered upon contact. They could not resist at all. However, the iron-armored warriors had higher defenses. Although the silver-armored warriors could shatter the other party's sword chi, Their own sword chi could not kill them immediately. They needed 3 strands of sword chi to shatter an iron-armored warrior. The situation was somewhat anxious. Xiao Chen did not want to waste any more time. He recalled the 2 silver-armored warriors with his thoughts and decided to do it himself. After all, the iron-armored warriors were only medial-grade martial saints. Wuxia. Xiao Chen scattered the gravity spell and quickly landed on the ground. He drew his lunar shadow saber at lightning speed and sent out a purple light, chopping an iron-armored warrior charging at him in half. Glittering Wuxia. Xiao Chen shouted and infused the state of thunder into his saber technique. The purple divine Wuxia tree branch turned into a strand of saber chi flickering with electric light. The saber chi flickering with electricity flashed through the group of iron-armored warriors in the passageway. Bang! 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 Everywhere the saber chi passed, all the iron-armored warriors were chopped in half and fell to the ground. Wuxia transforms to chi. Xiao Chen shouted again, and his saber light danced. The superior-grade Wuxia tree appeared from nowhere. In an instant, it turned into countless strands of purple saber chi flying around in the passageway. A series of shattering sounds rang out in the passageway. The sharp saber chi sliced through the armored warriors like they were tofu, effortlessly slicing them into countless pieces. When the saber chi scattered, the dozens of iron-armored warriors blocking the way were all smashed to pieces. They were all dead. If others saw this, they would definitely complain about how wasteful it was. Unfortunately, the combat prowess of these iron-armored warriors was nothing to Xiao Chen. He could only barely use the silver-armored warriors. What he truly wanted were the golden-armored warriors, which were as strong as peak inferior-grade martial kings. Now that he was in a rush, there was no need to hold back. Xiao Chen sheathed his saber and instructed the 2 silver-armored warriors to scout ahead. Then he followed. Along the way, Xiao Chen would run into a group of iron-armored warriors every 500 meters. The state of thunder that contained holy might infused into his saber technique did not stop at all. Everywhere the saber light passed, it swept everything in its path. Killing the iron-armored warriors was as easy as slaughtering dogs. They did not stop Xiao Chen at all. Sometimes when quality was poor, quantity could not make up for it. What was the point of having so much trash? Just like that, Xiao Chen did not stop moving. After traveling for 5 kilometers and passing through a few forks, the end of the passageway finally appeared in Xiao Chen's vision. Xiao Chen stopped. There was a large door at the end of the passageway. After spending 5 minutes dealing with the guards at the door, he immediately controlled the silver-armored warriors to push the door open. After Xiao Chen saw that there was no danger, he slowly walked in. Behind the door was a small room filled with heavy bookshelves. Xiao Chen rejoiced in his heart. This should be the Firely Hall's library. However, his expression immediately changed. The bookshelves were empty. He did not see a single secret manual. Feeling somewhat dissatisfied, Xiao Chen searched around the library. Finally, he found a book with a tattered cover at the foot of a bookshelf. Although the cover was tattered, the paper was well preserved. The contents were intact. Xiao Chen's face lit up in joy. He quickly flipped through the book. He saw the introduction to the ancient era's secret treasures. This book introduced the origins and uses of the various strong secret treasures of the ancient era. Seeing this, Xiao Chen's heart sank. This book might not be the same as the secret manual for forging secret treasures that he was looking for. Indeed, it was as he expected. As he continued reading, it was all introductions to the ancient era's secret treasures. Their uses, which owners used them, and how famous they were. However, there was no way to forge secret treasures. This was what Xiao Chen was concerned about. He shook his head and smiled bitterly. To think that I would look forward to a book used to pad the corner of a table. Never mind, I can only read it when I'm bored. Hey, this is the Scarlet Throne? The Scarlet Throne, a secret treasure refined by the ancient evil king. This secret treasure is a peak superior grade secret treasure. Xiao Chen suddenly saw a scarlet throne drawn on the page. He quickly looked at it seriously. However, after flipping through the book for a night, he discovered that someone had torn out the last chapter introducing the secret treasure. Feeling somewhat depressed, Xiao Chen said, "What's going on?" I just got to the main point, and it's already gone. You're tuning in to the Li Mei's Wuxia Whispers YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.